Welcome back to another Montreal Canadian Locker Room Report with the hockey coach, Gold Coast Ranches directly from beautiful country of Thailand. On amazing great Wednesday night. Last day of the month already. That's crazy. 2024. And then, of course, we have a co-host directly from Hawkesbury, back in the house, Marko Larabi. And somewhere, somehow, in the caveman in Toronto, we call him the legend. Mr. Enortap is with us tonight.
Good
Hey
evening,
guys,
everyone.
I wonder what we'll talk about to start the show, Coach.
Let's think about that.
Yep. First of all, I will let you know to announce it. Who want to announce the big news happening the last 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So one of you can announce the big trade.
Go ahead, Marko.
Coach, we have a trade. We have a trade between the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks. Big deal. So this is how the trade breaks down, everyone. I'm sure a lot of people have already seen it, but let me just pull it up here. So the Vancouver Canucks trade the following players. Let me just pull it up. So they are trading Kuzmenko. They are trading two defense prospects. That's Hunter Beruzewicz and Yanni Yermo Brustowicz. So both drafted in the third round over the last couple of years. Hunter Brustowicz currently leading the OHL in defense scoring. So nice prospect there. Plus,
the Kitchener
the
Rangers
Vancouver Canucks are also trading their 2024 first round pick and a conditional fourth round pick all to Calgary for Elias Lindholm. No salary, held back by Calgary. It doesn't sound like there's no reports that they're holding back any salary or anything like that. So overall, Coach, that's a lot of assets coming back for Elias Lindholm. Of course, which is a great transition for us to talk about something special for Montreal, perhaps, right?
That's amazing about that. But wait a minute.
There you go. I was going to suggest that.
We have a bigger breaking news at the Hockey Nation family because RDP, he got a new baby girl that was born in AM in Newfoundland. Long day tired, but I'm here inside the Habs Locker Room. RDP, new daddy again, or maybe first time whatsoever. We just want to say congratulations for your wife. The new health baby, and you, my friend, everybody, hope healthy. And we want to say to you from the Hockey Nation, awesome day for the LDP sharing with us. I think this is great to hear that. So sorry, I still use scoop.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's great news. Congratulations, RDP. Hope you get some sleep. It's going to, that's...
But not yet. The next 2 hours.
No, next 2 hours.
He can go to bed after the next 2 hours and be fine after that. He can put some, see back and see his wife, whatsoever. Is it? So we have a new subscriber inside the Hockey Nation in Enortap, born in January 31st, 2024. We'll see. Maybe a new fans of the Buffalo Sabres. We try to convert her to a Montreal Canadian, but we'll see happening. But in Enortap, we'd like to hear your first... impression or your first statement about the trade between the Vancouver Canucks and, of course, the Calgary Flames. I was almost right when I said when you're going to make a trade, Vancouver is going to trade Kuzmenko at the same time. But at the end of the day, it's because they want to open up $5.5 million behind that trade. So give us your Enortap that information about the trade.
Yeah, well, if you're Vancouver, you're happy because you're getting that additional center that you've been so needing, and I think it gives them that added depth for a playoff run. I think it's a great acquisition for them. If you're looking at the acquisitions for Calgary, I thought that was a good scoop that they got as well. I mean, they're getting a 2024 first round pick. A conditional 2024 fourth, two solid defensemen, as Marko said. Brustowicz is leading the Kitchener Rangers and I think maybe the league for defensemen in points.
He's leading leading the OHL in scoring right now for defense.
So even though he was a later pick, he's showing a lot of promise, and of course they're getting Kuzmenko as well, which is, I mean, I think that was the key to it, to not retain any money for Vancouver and to dish off a huge contract. Originally, this took a while to sort of materialize because apparently Calgary was on Kuzmenko's no trade list, and they had to get him to agree to it. But they had an alternative plan just in case. So something was going to go down, and they were going to get Lindholm, and they did. And I'm kind of happy that Lindholm is off the table because this can only bode well for Montreal and specifically Monahan.
Well, if there's one thing we know, Coach, like
another baby.
All right, again, Marko, second time back to back. The Los Angeles Kings score his first goal in the NHL Alfie Turcotte draft 2019, and the year Cole Caulfield, I believe, was 6'7", Mr. Alfie Turcotte. So we talked about him last night at the show. Said maybe we're not going to see him anymore, maybe trade him, but he scored his first goal. So he's never been a really easy path for him. So sometimes players take a little bit longer. Sometimes they deserve some credit for that. So I just want to share it with you, Mr. Marko. First, the first goal of Alfie Turcotte.
Yeah, I saw the highlight. It was a really nice goal, top shelf. His teammates seemed really, really happy for him. Good for him. It's been a tough road for Turcotte, like had a head injury, and so good for him. Hopefully, at the very least, LA can kind of get him playing on the big club for a while, and that helps him out with either another person in their top 6 or in their top 9, and somebody that they can use as an asset because they've been struggling a lot, Coach, LA. So they need to maybe shake something up. But for this
I
for this
apologize,
trade,
Mr. Marko. I said Alfie because
yeah,
Alex Turcotte. So
Yeah.
I want to correct that one because people say, "Oh, Alfie make a return at 63 years old in NHL." So no. This is like,
Hey, if Jagger did it.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, not much Turcotte make the NHL. Like I thought was like, I don't know. Did you never been to the hockey camp? I went to the hockey camp, summer camp of the Turcotte family.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know, like the dad and everybody work at the Turcotte. They have another brother. He work in the Colorado area. Contact me a couple years ago, but anyway, sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. That's good. Good,
Fifth
good for the
overall pick. Fifth overall pick.
Wow. Yeah, he went really high in that draft, so good for him, man. Hopefully this is the start for him in the NHL, and he can really kind of establish himself and get going, right? So for the Canucks, Coach, like we know that Jim Rutherford is one of those. I know he's not the GM, right? He's the president of hockey operations, but he has a history of always being first in line before the trade deadline. He likes to do his business nice and early, which I think is a good strategy. Like get out there, do your business. I like if you're going to acquire a player like Lindholm, give him as much time as possible to really get him integrated into your lineup. So this is a very Rutherford type move, like moving first and getting to the table before the rush, right? So good move from that perspective. I think it's a good deal for both teams. Like certainly, Vancouver gets the player that they needed. We know that they like to move. They like to have that lotto line where Miller is playing on the top line with Peterson and with Besser. So that gives them the flexibility to continue to do that. Like that line when they're together is almost unstoppable. Like it's just they just tear up the NHL. So it's similar to when you put, say, Draisaitl and McDavid together, kind of thing, right? It's call it the nuclear option, right? If you're down by a goal, then you can put the lotto line together. It's kind of like Power Rangers, right? Like Power Rangers unite, and they all get together and they create this very powerful robot, right? I know, Coach. I know you're a big Power Rangers fan. I'm sure.
So, I like the Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles, underrated.
We do digress.
Yeah, I prefer them to over Caillou.
Caillou, yeah. I think. I think I understand.
Caillou.
I
My
think I
best is
understand.
SpongeBob, but still,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Good move. Like, listen, like, I think you're right, Coach. Like, there's a bit of a premium there for them taking on Kuzmenko. You guys know how I feel about Kuzmenko. Like, certainly he has good finishing ability. One thing I'll say for Calgary though is that Kuzmenko might be a good fit, because obviously it wasn't really good chemistry there between Huberdeau and Lindholm. Huberdeau is a pass first kind of guy, right? So maybe having a shooter like Kuzmenko playing with him might be a better kind of option. And because if you're Calgary, the biggest thing that you're trying to accomplish, because Huberdeau is going nowhere, right? They are committed to Huberdeau. He's an immovable asset at this point. So you're trying to figure out a way to make Huberdeau more productive. So I have strong feelings about Kuzmenko either way, but I think this is a good move for Calgary, right? Like you're putting a guy who can put the puck in the net, a good maybe compliment for Huberdeau, and they walk away with the 2024 first pick. A lot of people in the chat here are like, oh, they're bums, two like bums in the OHL. Well, guys, these are third round draft picks, like so maybe not like elite level of prospects, but again, we have one of them that's currently leading the OHL in scoring. Is a right-handed defenseman. So these are just good assets. The Flames obviously did some scouting on them and wanted them thrown into the deal. So I think it's a good deal, Coach. Like certainly it sets the stage
Totally.
here. Yeah, it sets the stage for what the market will be. But I'm seeing people. I guess what I would say too is people are thinking, oh my God, they got a first round pick and Kuzmenko. But I think you're closer to the truth that Kuzmenko, yes, it's an asset that they're getting, but it's not like, yeah, I think the reason that they maybe got the first round pick is that they're liberating some salary off the books for Vancouver too. I think you might be onto something there.
great
And
point about
he
that.
might be a rental, and that's it.
Well, Kuzmenko's got one more year after this year, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
he's got one more. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
still have one more year. For me, behind that, first of all, I have to say that both of you did a great comment about the trade. I'm thinking about a site where, okay, Calgary now, this is a big move from them, and that's gave them that showed to me one thing. I don't think so now. They're thinking they're going to make the playoff. They're going to unplug now this. They become more a sailor. Thirdly, secondly, they still have to figure out about Danev,
Ten
where he's going
off.
to go. He's a UF free. And then the situation with Noah Anifin, another UF free for the Calgary Flame. Can they move Max from if a team would like to get his contract? I think
That's
Maxon
a
has
good.
still three more years, I believe, for him at
Yeah.
That's a.
65.
That's hard
A
to
little
do.
bit more money there. But again, for me, Craig Gunroy decide now to say, you know what, we have to move on. Maybe not like yesterday. I think Marko in the chat or Enortap talk about sometimes team does not go rebuilding all the way down, but he can find a way to get
Retool.
retool everything and they'll be quicker. And because still have a lot of big contract, we talk about Katri Huberdeau, you just mentioned to you. They last now Dylan Dubé. They have a couple of prospects in this organization, like Coronato, still have Peltier over there. Zari, is this Zari, his last name?
Connor Zary's had a very good rookie
Have a
season for
good
sure.
year over there too. So look, I think Calgary decide to go that direction, and that open up now to see can Tanev go to Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the name we mentioned last a couple of weeks for Tanev. And if Finn would be running to the same case, he's still only 28 years old. Anifin, and he's been always a great pairing, first pairing. So which team can get Anifin is going to be a contract a long term for Anifin for sure. But he wants to play in USA, by the way. So is it could happen there? But it's the beginning. This is the first trade for the trade deadline 2024 at the end of the day. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We have a few
we love
people in the chat. If you don't mind, to welcome everybody. Nicolas de Gobibano was in the chat earlier. I slept at a couple of things. The RDP congregation again. We appreciate Luciano Luciano Graziano Moderator is in the house. Thanks so much to be with us. RJ Calabro already delivered some information. Bob Uncle is in the house. At tie 25th in NHL now they should get a decent player on the first round. I think they need to take a big son, especially if they trade money in. That son to be hurt a lot. Taking a center is a smart move from them. Chaka is in the house. Chris Henson, what a haul for career. First, Kamensko, two prospect, four for Langholm. It's a lot in return, Chris. Agree with you. Mr. Abination is in the house tonight. Welcome back. Thanks to be with the Hockey Nation Live Show. Leon Renault knocked the door. Welcome back. Congratulations for RDB. A2, Langholm is not my end, but still, yeah, great about this. And Revenant Langholm, Kosmenko off of the table now. Agree with you. Claude Richard from Ottawa is in the house. Welcome back. 3-3 Laval and Utica with 9:13 to go. For that, Nicholas, congratulating celebration. Nicholas from Sweden. What about Patrick Leblanc? Bet of the night, the Ducks to beat the Sharks by at least goal for 2.25. Sharks surprised yesterday Kraken and win at 2-0. Last time I watched Ottawa was 2-1. I don't know where we're at now.
2-2. 2-2.
2-2 now. Detroit come back. And Rabinov, Calgary is going to clean up for that. Such a great get. Vancouver looking good now for the Real. Love it. Nicholas, yeah. And I'm happy for the fans in Vancouver, by the way. And, you know,
it's been a while.
I would say to you, like 14 months ago, 16 months ago, you know, that day was like one of the worst in the NHL from the fans and Bruce Boudreau behind the bench until they get Rick Tocchet and they, you know, they talk about a lot of drama in Vancouver during the period of 12 months between. And, you know, one person we never talk anymore is the woman Asian over there. She became very quiet. I don't know what happened there. But she was
they had a tough summer too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she was a candidate for the GM job in Montreal too. Castonguay.
Castonguay, yeah. Emily.
Emily.
Yeah.
And they had a tough go, right? Like remember they had somebody sue them because of sexual. Like it was a tough go. And don't forget, Coach, all the controversy, the big decision that they had to make, you know, around Bo Horvat versus, you know, kind of whether they were going to sign him or you going to, and then everybody thought they were going to sign Horvat and move JT Miller. And then all of a sudden they changed their mind and they went with JT Miller. And, you know, that was kind of weird because Bo Horvat's the captain, but all these moves and, you know, it's just weird sometimes.
The contract, they tried to trade Brock Bozer for many times. Now you have what, 27 goals, I believe, this year. The contract at OEL, the bad trade they did with Arizona, they had to restart over there. OEL now with the Florida Panthers, they had to pick it up the contract for the money for him too. So, look, we have to give credit, I believe, for, I think you can see Jim Rutherford, I will say to you, Marko, but I think behind that also Patrick Alvin has been a great assistant GM in the NHL for many years with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think he's really the man behind everything over there. And he used the experience of Jim Rutherford. So, look, congratulations for Vancouver Canucks. Now, that's not guaranteed to win the Stanley Cup, but that step up, that's a big statement in the Pacific Division. Edmonton, Vegas have to react right now with that part, and the Kings have to figure out that too. So, great point about that. Roger Delaney is in the house. Welcome back. Welcome in the house, Mr. Roger Delaney. What about our friend Woody Snyder and moves back from Arvada in Colorado? It's rental Langholm visit another rental Kusmago, two suspect defensemen and late first round pick for that one. I thought Coach was said Alfie Turcotte. Yes, I said that A2, then I changed it for that one for Alex. Here we go. People, you know, they know. KLS, welcome back. Thank you so much, KLS. Looking for the Detroit Red Wings. What's going to happen tonight? Is the Habs first pick from Calgary 2025 lottery protected?
No, I don't believe he is.
They have a condition with that pick over there, including the Florida Panthers A2. So Calgary, if one of the two teams is easy, are on the top 10, top 8, they protected. Now, I think they could switch after that. Depends on Calgary or the Florida Panthers. So it's a little bit complicated to explain to everybody, but you have to be a part of that part. You have to follow that. Uh, you have to be also understanding if Calgary the below Panthers, the conscious Panthers don't exist anymore, and if Calgary is bent over Panthers, the conscience of Calgary don't exist, and the Panthers don't have no conscience about that. So resume about this.
Yeah.
There we go. It's all the higher of the Florida Panthers Calgary. Here we go. Christian mentioned about this one over there. Glad to have me about this. I'm going to contract to a band. He does his trade to celebrate. Jason predict a while ago that if Guanzel trade, it would be the Dallas for the first one pick. Plus, Maverick Book was always top full. The Vancouver, Pittsburgh, rumor, any value about that one over there. Guanzel with Dallas. I think Dallas is looking more for a defenseman right now. I think they will
Oh,
add.
yeah.
Don't be surprised they're looking for Daniel.
That'd be a good fit for them for sure.
Yep.
I think any contending team would do well to acquire Tanev, right? Like I think he's a good fit for any NHL
He's,
playoff.
especially for the playoffs. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, and about though I cancel with Mr. Line. Mr. Randy Walkman. I can wait to hear the comments about Randy Walkman. If he has some two more after this year, 6 more years. I think he talked about
Kuzmenko has 2 years.
Max
He has
Strom,
2
I
years.
believe.
Oh, maybe it's Kuzmenko. I don't know.
No, it's Max Strom.
Markstrom. Okay.
Yeah. Talk about Connor Zary. Thanks so much. If you straight man to New York Rangers, does he want the first round pick? Plus, does he want Kako?
We'll talk
Questions,
about
please.
that. It's coming up. It's coming.
What would be the trade in Enortap if you think they trade to the Rangers?
Well, it's part of the headliner, so I don't want to
Okay.
divulge it right now.
All right, Marko.
For me, obviously Gordon believes in Kako, right? He drafted him. So to me, it would make I'm have my concerns about Kako, but in terms of what the pattern is, I think they would rather go for a known commodity in Kako versus a late first round pick. That would be my guess. It wouldn't be my first. It wouldn't be my preference necessarily because I'm not a big Kako fan. But I think that's what if they were given the option between the Rangers' first round pick and Capo Kako, I'm pretty sure they would take Kako.
All right.
If they deal at all.
There we go.
If it happens.
They gave us some information right there to Detroit. Langholm should be better que Monahan this year. About equal Vancouver got good players. Absolutely about this. Gary Conley knocked the door. Welcome back. There we go. Keep the dish. Early today, airing an early trade. Patrick Castalgay has some harassment claim on her by an employee. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. Well said, Mr. Patrick. Rutherford. Joe Manella, they will not trade Monahan until Dak come back and play well. Who as the hell is going to support Ski a Caulfield scoring chance? The point behind that, Joe, is because he does not have no contract. So they cannot wait until Dak is coming back, Joe Manella, about Monahan. Dak is not coming back this year. Monahan is gone. Chris Hansen gave yourself a break. Called Skip the Dish on the wall LDP. I'm talking about next season. Yeah, no contract next season, Joe. I'd get the first round pick of Calgary of Florida above 10 overall 2025 draft. Here we go. Like a balloon punch, Darrell, welcome back, by the way. Thanks to good. Okay, what about Fixer? He's in the house. And Alan Villaco, I apologize. He's on the road right now, so be careful, Alan. I saw some light behind you, but I don't want to let you know. Stay, look forward.
He's listening.
Don't stop. Don't give any chance. Don't just stay move. Go back, Elaine, at the door. She'll wait for you. The dinner is ready. Or maybe not 9:30. Maybe now the McDonald's is over. Anyhow, as you already this is not the media. Joe Manella. Gary Connon, Monahan could bring the blue chip prospect and the Ranger are on the bottom of my list for that one. Randy, under Brizowitz is an excellent
First
prospect
switch.
with a puck moving skill because his power forward he has trap would go with UB and maybe it would connect and go back to his huge. We'll see. What about my friend Alan said Alan Bannister? Welcome back in the house. They would
Yeah, Alan.
pay
Welcome,
him,
Alan.
Joe. They believe Joe Manel is going to give the money to Monahan. We'll see what happens about that. And don't forget, everybody, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. And you want to add something, Marco?
No, I was just saying to Randy that Hunter Brustowicz is a defenseman. He's not a power forward, but he's a good.
I
Yeah,
think he
he's
was.
got.
I think he was referring to Kuzmenko.
Yeah,
Oh,
cause
okay.
yeah, it's
Well,
Cause is a power forward. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree
well, I
with you.
don't think Cuzmenko's a power forward, but okay. I don't think he's a power forward.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
a good scorer.
He's a solid forward because you don't see him, but he's a great forward. I said to you, he
I've
would score
watched.
30 goals if he was used
Yeah,
properly.
I've
That's what he
watched him a
does. He
lot.
score
I've
goal,
watched him a lot.
he go in the traffic, he go in front of the net.
Yeah, I still wouldn't call him a power forward.
No,
No,
not a
he's
power.
not like a Wendell Clark, of course, but he would be the top three best forward for Montreal as goes in front of the net. That's the only thing I can tell you that Montreal don't go there. Anyhow, headlines of the night. Let's move on. Or before that, we have to talk about the subject because it took 30 minutes. We talk about the trades. So we have a subject tonight, and the subject of the night, guys, is about Montreal Canadiens should trade or not the first round pick 2024. We're going to talk about this in the next couple of minutes after we finish of course, the headline of the night. And the first headline of the night, we have to start with who? With Mr. Marco. And his headline is
Rebuilds. So phase 2 of the rebuild. So I've chosen a kind of a quizzical Jeff Molson looking over his shoulder, looking over at Kent Hughes, kind of expecting, okay, Kent, what do you got? What's next here, Kent? Like we're well through phase 1, and guys, you've heard me talk about this. I strongly feel that in a rebuild you have 2 phases, right? You've got phase 1, which is collect all the assets, right? Like you're moving to Foley, Sherrod, you're Pac-Man, right? You're just collecting all these assets, best, hopefully drafting best forward available or best player available at the draft. You're not really building your team at that phase. So the question, guys, and I'm not saying that I have the answer here, but when is phase 1 going to be complete? Would you say that after this season and after this draft, Montreal is done collecting assets and is now going to be ready to start moving pieces around? We've talked ad nauseum about how they have so many left-handed defensemen, and that obviously at some point they're going to have to convert some of these pieces to fill other voids that they have on their roster. So for me personally, I think, and this ties into the topic that we have tonight, Coach, about whether they trade their first round pick from 2024. To me, I suspect, and again, like I can't see the future, but I have a feeling that this year's draft is going to be the end of phase 1. So, because again, we have so many draft picks, we only have 50 contracts that you can have. So at some point, it's no longer going to be about asset collection. It's going to have to be about really starting to design your roster. So if I'm Jeff Molson, who's again looking over at Ken Hughes, kind of like looking at his watch, okay, Ken, like we're almost 3 years into this thing, so we're into phase 1, collecting all these assets. When do we go to phase 2? And then phase 2, guys, is when you start making moves, right? Like I would argue, Coach and Enortap, that phase 1 is probably the easiest phase because again, there's some skill involved, and like Ken Hughes has done a good job, but getting a first round pick for Tyler Toffoli is not that hard, right? And to be honest, like this Monahan thing also kind of fell on their lap a little bit. So I'm not saying that they should have no credit, But collecting assets, breaking something down and collecting assets is kind of easy. Like think about a house, right? If you're hiring a contractor, are you is it easier for the contractor to come in and tear down your kitchen or to come in and actually put in your new kitchen? Which one is harder? Obviously,
Tear it down.
putting
Tear it down.
yeah, the tear down is way easier, right? And collecting the assets. So to me, phase one, again, it's important to execute it properly, and I think Montreal's done a good job of executing phase one. But phase one has to end here soon, guys. We're no longer going to be at the point where we're collecting assets. So I'm curious what you guys think. Do you guys think that this year's draft is really where phase one ends? And do you expect that Montreal is going to really start, not just collecting more assets, but really start to use the assets they have to start really kind of designing what the future roster will be? Enortap, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you broke it down into two phases. I would even break it down into probably three phases, but I would agree that the easier part has been done, and I think they've done a very good job of that in terms of some of the draft picks that they've received in return, and even a couple of prospects that they've gotten in return. Where it becomes a little bit cloudier is the fact that sometimes things that you don't anticipate is sort of blur the vision a little bit. And I'm talking about there's still some contracts that need to be cleared out, and we know who those guys are that are currently on the team. That'll hold you back a little bit. Also, some of the injuries that we've had over the past 2 years, sets you back a little bit because it doesn't give you a true picture of what direction you necessarily have to go. You have an idea, but you need to also know maybe not what the ceiling is, but are we getting close with that ceiling with these kind of players, right? And we haven't been privy to that. But you're right. The first part should be out of the way. We shouldn't be looking this summer to go into the UFA pool too vigorously because it's not the right time. I think that's maybe a year away from now. But you also have to look at the fact that they're going to get a good pick this year. And with that, they're going to have to use these assets creatively, think outside the box, and bring in either some good prospects or some players that maybe teams have a surplus of, and are looking for solid defensemen where our assets lie right now. So, yeah, I would agree with your assessment.
So one thing I'm seeing in the comments here is that yes, the Habs do have Gallagher contract. The Armia contract I'm not really that worried about because it's not that long. Really, the only
Right.
kind of anchor really there is the Gallagher contract, right?
And still the Carey Price one that's hanging around. And
Yeah, but at least
I,
that's on LITR.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
manageable. It does have lesser of an impact. Well, we all think that maybe Gallagher will end up on LITR, but until that's a reality, it's something that they have to contend with, right? So, listen, it's not ideal, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a critical thing yet. Like a lot of these players that are going to be coming up, are going to be on their entry level contracts for a while. We have some players that are already locked in. So the money that's being eaten up by Gallagher is for sure going to be a problem, but I don't think it will be a problem at least for 2 years. So, and then, maybe at that point, again, like you might have to feed some assets to a team to kind of like take that on or something. But I get that. So, but I don't think in this case you can resolve that in phase one. But it doesn't mean that you can't continue to phase two just because you have one really bad contract on your roster. You can't let that hold you back. But
No,
realistically,
no.
it's not going to get solved. It's just not, unfortunately. Coach, what do you think?
I was thinking about that. I can understand your point of view when you said phase number two, but they still have one more year to go through bad contract overall. But when I said bad
Yeah,
contract, it's not about bad players or bad. It's not about bad contracts. It's more about to liquid a can like Debo Rack Armia, Allen, and Savard. All 4 players complete their last final contract next season at the trade in summer 2025. So they still have to carry on those kind of money all the way, everything like that. That will limit their move again during the summer about this. Now, because you referred this to the first round pick, but I don't want to go deep because we're going to talk more about that one there. I think Montreal is going to still a little bit more goal exhibit like they did with New Hook. Maybe targeting a player right now, like Kaliev is not happy example the Sun King. Can Kaliev finish the season over there and then during the summer request and maybe Montreal can trade their pick number, I don't know, like 30 or whatever it is, and then their pick number 57, 2 picks, and they gave to Kadiev another prospect at 23 years old, something like that. That would be the kind of deal I expect when you talk about phase two for the Montreal Canadiens. And then they would try to maybe open up a little bit, some spot from some players, but it's still, I think they are filled for me one more year. Oh my God, what a goal at the catch, not catch chocolat, but Ottawa
Pinto.
score. Pinto, 57 Pinto.
Yeah.
Wow, what a goal of Pinto. Ottawa, guys, another point, another 2 points. That give them, I think, a 4 or 5 games straight until they get beat
Yeah.
by the
I think they've
Rangers.
won. I think they've won 5 out of the last 6. Ottawa.
Yeah.
5 out of
So,
the last 6 games.
sorry about that. I just see the goal like a tip and for net. It broke his stick after that. So a really great play. And Pinto.
Keep winning, Ottawa. Keep winning.
Yeah. So this will be my points from view about you, Marco. But I can understand you. Phase two,
So
it's a
just,
C.
just to retort, right? So I'm not saying that, like, I guess what I mean by phase 2 is that you're no longer just acquiring assets. Like, I know it's not going to be the final roster that they're going to have, right? Like, because again, you're right. Like, there's certain players on the rosters that won't be there by the time that they have a roster that will be competing. But at the same time, it's still a different mindset. The mindset that Montreal's had so far is, okay, we're just collecting. Now to me, phase 2 is you're being a little bit more selective in what you're bringing in based on what you already have, right? So it is a little bit more based on not necessarily just getting a new best asset, but it's really getting the asset that you need, right? So that's kind of what I mean for phase 2.
Yeah, and yeah, it makes sense
Yeah.
for sure about that. So we'll see a couple of people in the chat. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget to click on the likes, and we're going to give you the your question after the headline, the second headline of the night. Is Mr. Enortap, and he didn't want to trade, talking about the trade earlier, so he's going to give us his headlines on this evening.
And I mean the word in the proper way it's meant. He's trader, not trader with an I. Of course, this is his time, and I think tonight it comes at a perfect time when Lindholm gets dealt to Vancouver. So it brings Monahan right up to the forefront as in terms of the best center that's left on the table right now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Monahan, and even though there's other possibilities and other things that could happen, namely like Pearson, you never know. Maybe Armia might be involved in something, but I don't particularly think so. Of course, there's still the Allen situation, but talking about Monahan a little bit, I think that the deal sort of has set the bar in terms of what we can expect. To think that we don't get a first out of this would be not plausible in my eyes. I think at this stage we should be getting a first or a very solid A prospect in the absence of a first pick. A couple teams that just come to mind, and some we'll just very briefly talk about that are in need for a defenseman, or sorry, a center, would be 2 that I'll dismiss probably right away. Boston, they would love to have somebody like Monahan. I think that he would complement their top six and give them some of that depth that they need. But it would probably, it would cost them something like maybe a, Fabian Lysol or even maybe a Matthew Portress in return if you're looking at prospects. So they don't have a lot left in the cupboard in terms of picks. So, and I don't think that they want to deal with somebody in their own division, anyways. And same thing goes with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, one of the things that they really lack is this kind of player who can offer you not only depth but experience once it comes to the playoffs. He can be played in many different positions. The Leafs do have a 2024 first pick available, so that's a possibility. Short of that, are they willing to go Nick Robertson route? And if not, which I anticipate will be the answer, are they looking maybe at somebody like a Pontus Holmgren and a pick to go for Monahan? And again, I'll dismiss those two because I don't think they're as plausible as the other ones that I have here left. And I want to talk a little bit more about Colorado, Edmonton, and finally Winnipeg, now that Vancouver is kind of out of the picture. With Colorado, I mean, we're seeing some of the difficulties there. Like Ryan Johansson it's not working out as well as they anticipated. And now with Nikushkin having gone in the player assistance program, it really creates gaps for them. And they're starting to really put things together. And McKinnon's having the year of champions. And, you don't want to waste this kind of a year. So, and they've made good trade partners with Montreal in the past. So there's a lot of leeway here. They could offer a first because they do have one, Colorado. But I don't know if Montreal is looking more towards some of their prospects there and whether Sakic would be willing to dispense of that. Edmonton, they're obviously in the market for a third line centerman, and possibly even I would say a second line power play specialist like he is. They have I believe they have first and second picks available. Are they willing to dispense with somebody like a Dylan Holloway in return? So there's a question mark there. And the team that I left till the end, which I think is probably most plausible right now, would be the Winnipeg Jets. One of the things that stands out to me, for a team that I think added this year through subtraction, and by that I mean they got rid of some of their problems that were holding them back, and they acquired, I would say an entire line almost from LA. And we're seeing that they've translated that with the contracts of Scheifele and Hellebuck to a very successful year so far to date. So they're going to want to go the extra distance. Surprisingly, they're a team that right now is at the bottom of the league when it comes to winning faceoffs. I think they're around the 46% faceoff victory. So you bring in somebody like Monahan, who's at around 57%, makes a lot of sense. It adds that depth. He would make the perfect third line centerman there on that team. What to expect in return? The nice thing is Calgary does have a lot of good prospects that
You mean Winnipeg?
are mostly, or sorry, Winnipeg. Thank you. They do have a lot of good prospects that that are forwards that they might be willing to dispense with, and I'm thinking of guys. I mean, most recently they have guys like Colby Barlow. They have McGroarty. They have Chaz Lucius, Brad Lambert, and a couple of others. So they're rich in forward prospects. So that might be a very good fit, I think. And what can I say? Like, you're getting Monahan for less than $2 million. If you really don't want him afterwards, you're not committed to it. there wouldn't be any retention, I don't think, for Monahan. I think that would be better served if even needed. I know Hughes does not like to do it, but it would be better served in case they need to do it with Jake Allen. So I'm going to put if I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, I would put it with Winnipeg right now. Time will tell, I guess. What do you think, Marko?
Yeah. So I guess overall, like if we're talking about the Habs and kind of what this is going to look like here heading into trade deadline, all I'll say is this, guys. Like right now, being the center of attention with Monahan, and it's really exciting, right? Well, enjoy it because I think that's pretty much the only move that Montreal is going to be able to do at that deadline. I find it pretty hard to believe that a team is going to trade for Pearson with the amount that he has. Montreal is not going to retain salary on him, maybe, I guess, but I don't see that being a big deal if it happens. I don't think Armia is going to move. I don't think they are going to trade David Savard either. And I find it, there might be some teams that are interested in Allen, but the acrobatics needed from a cap perspective are just too difficult, right? Like for Montreal, like we talked about, the fact that they're already retaining on Petrie makes it difficult. Montreal may not want to retain this year and next year on Allen, so it just gets really complicated. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just saying that this Monahan trade, and cross our fingers that nothing bad happens. He doesn't get injured before it happens. That's the key thing. This is the most exciting part for Habs fans, is this Monahan asset that we have, because I'm not saying it's impossible that anybody else gets moved for assets, but it's not as likely, right? So in terms of with that being said, like I just try to manage my own expectations. Like I would love it to be super exciting and Montreal makes all these moves, but I just don't think it's quite likely to happen. In terms of what the best destination is for Monahan, again, I Enortap went through most of the teams there. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly who's going to step up and make the offer. Like we know that now with Lindholm off the market, really the only comparable asset out there would be Henrique, that's in Anaheim, and he's I believe at a $5 million cap hit, right? So he's arguably, you might have some GMs that, because again, like here in Montreal, we all love Monahan. Even earlier people were debating like, well, isn't like Monahan has more points than Lindholm right now? Like, can you say he's as good? Trust me, GMs across the league value Lindholm way, way more than Monahan. He's a Selke finalist. He's I think they value Lindholm way, way higher than Monahan. And to be honest, some GMs might even value.
I don't know about that one, Marko.
I'd
have to sort of disagree with that, because the only thing that is holding Monahan back in my eyes is the fact that he has that injury proneness to his game, and he stayed healthy this year. But I don't know. I'd sooner, personally, I would sooner take Monahan over Lindholm.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's your opinion, but I can say that overall, like as a consensus, most GMs value Lindholm more than Monahan as an asset, right? So we can have our own preferences as to which style of player we like better and everything else. But as an asset, it's pretty clear that Lindholm is higher valued by GMs all across the league. I think that's pretty fair. And to be, like I was saying, to be honest, there might even be some GMs that value Henrique more than Monahan. Like Henrique is a pretty respected player across the NHL, but the problem with him is his cap hit. So all that being said, I don't know where Monahan's going to go. I don't know what he's going to fetch as a return. I think this Vancouver deal is a little bit unique in the sense that Vancouver was trying to offload Kuzmenko to make this work as well, right? So I guess the only thing I would say as one thing to guide us as we try to read the tea leaves, which team is the most desperate? Like to me, Colorado, they have McKinnon on this like MVP, like unicorn, like godlike season, right? Yeah. How can you go into the playoffs with the depth that you have there at center? Because especially like you were saying at the top, Johansson's just been a pretty big disappointment. They lost JP Comfort last year. If you're Colorado, you can't realistically think they're going into the playoffs. So really, there's not that many options for them, right? So to me, they're the most desperate team. They're the most well, not desperate. They're the most motivated team to make this happen. Unfortunately, though, they're the team that I find have the less sexy assets for Montreal, right? So in terms of as a fan, as a Habs fan, the team that I really want Montreal to deal with is Winnipeg. Like you said, like they have a sexy ass bank of really good forwards. McGroarty, like if McGroarty to me is like
that would be amazing.
Oh my god, like that he's like, but from what we hear out of Winnipeg, he's probably one of the untouchable prospects that they have, right? So you need to really, so it's not likely that something like that's going to happen. Even Barlow might be on the verge of somebody that they're not really interested in moving. So Montreal would probably have to add something pretty significant on top of that in order for them to even consider that. So guys, I don't have, I wish I knew, because I'd be a rich man, as to where he's going to go. But I think it's clear looking at it that his value just increased, just because of market factors, scarcity, all the economic things that we know, right? So it's going to be exciting to see. But to me, Colorado is the team that for sure has to be the most, the most committed, or the most kind of desperate to make a move here. So, Coach, are you willing to bet your bet like your condo in Thailand that
your cheese?
Your
I'm too
cheese
busy right now. I try to calm down, Patrick.
Okay.
Okay. Why?
Patrick is all
saying.
Patrick is showing like the one Gretzky of the holders. For him, and Gary believes Monahan should not be traded about that one over there.
You got to trade him. I would wholeheartedly disagree with that. At this point, you have this asset. You need to trade him.
Yeah, like I think we've talked about this a lot, Patrick. Like we all like Sean Monahan, right? And I know we had this debate in the chat yesterday that skating is not the only thing that matters. And I agree. Like there are players that can be very effective, in their 30s if they're not elite skaters. But Monahan literally has had all these lower body problems, really critical problems with his hip and everything, right? So you can't really compare that. Like, so to me, like, I think Coach did a good job kind of fleshing out what the marketplace would be for Monahan this summer. And I don't think so it would be similar to kind of like Andrew Kopp and JD Comfort, players like that, where they're getting about $5 million per year. They got 5-year deals. I don't think teams will go ahead and give Monahan 5 years because of that injury history. But I think even 4 years at $5 million, I can guarantee, like, Coach, let's bookmark this episode. But if Montreal were to sign Monahan five times 5, let's meet up 2 years from now and see if everybody feels the same way about Monahan, or if they feel more like Gallagher about Monahan when it comes to him being on that deal.
Well, the key behind that, Marko, is like everybody say he's not injured right now, but you can see the last couple of weeks he have a day treatment, right?
Yeah,
he cannot practice. So imagine right now he's only at 48 game. Imagine when you're going to hit the 70 game and the next 5 weeks. Example, what his body is going to tell him about that. And this is, for me, it's a little bit a red flag a long term. Now, Patrick said, but it's not a big deal. Put him on the long-term injury reserve and take that money to get a UFA. It's not work that way. If you go to long-term injury reserve, he's going to come back at some point, and now you cannot get a player at $6 million or $5 million. And then because now Monahan, when he returned, that's give them now $10 million. It's not going. Now, if Monahan get out, who's going to get a spot from the Montreal Canadiens prospect? Not the same level like Monahan. For me, I take a little bit longer. What I said, take that money on Monahan, $5 million, add $2 million, maybe $3 million. That gave $8 million, and go get a solid UFA players in 2025, 2026. They have a ton of players in NHL. a camp example for the Kings. Tresado, I know, but this is just example what their bigger name is coming out in 2025 versus 2024. 2024 is Guanzel, is Reynard, is Stankos. Yeah, but just a little. 2025, we have about 7, 8, 9 players. 2026, 2025, 26, they have more also. So for me, I will not put more and money in for that part. He does a great job. He's a great leader. He's a quiet leader. He does a great job behind the minute of Suzuki and of Kirby Dak when he's going to play there for the Montreal Canadiens. Now he's going to be an example on the power play. One Dak is coming. What do you do with Sean Monahan? Who do you remove? Sakaski, Caulfield, Suzuki?
Yeah.
On the second line. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for
Oh,
me,
yeah.
he become a secondary players for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, Monahan, I will say to you, it would be a great fit in 2027, 2028 with the Montreal Canadiens at $2 million, like Jordan Stahl with the Carolina, a guy with 33 years old, 34 years old, carry on your team. He don't hurt your team, and he bring his experience to go to playoff, everything like
Yeah.
that. So that would be the way about that. The Kings just nailed the bonsai with the empty net that take the lead
Empty net.
4-2 against the Nashville Predator. But again, this is my opinion
Yeah.
about Sean Monahan, and I think this is need to trade. Now, one thing we said to you, the trade of Lindholm increase the value of Sean Monahan. Not only 3 teams
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but a ton of teams are going to try to knock the door and to get something. So right now, it may be a first round pick, but I think Montreal Canadiens are going to targeting for me a prospect first before the first round pick. Now you can talk
Totally.
about Kako or Kelly or whatever it is. I feel for me Montreal are targeting a prospect A in return. Remember when we trade Lekanen to Colorado, their mind was really for Justin Barron behind that. It was not only, and I think they got a second round pick with that one with
Yeah.
Justin Barron. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, that would kind of the trade I would look for money in return. A guy, a good prospect, a prospect, and they have about 10 teams and I would love to get money in. So I don't want to go all the way with each team. But example, the Winnipeg Jet could maybe trade Brent Lambert to the Montreal Canadiens and a second round pick for money.
So,
Yeah. That's
Coach,
what we were saying before.
yeah,
That was
that's
the,
what
that
we were
was the
saying.
whole point
Yeah. So I think
of the headliner.
Yeah, for sure. So, Coach, here's and Enortap. Here's a good question, right? So I think we all agree Winnipeg has the best bank of prospects that, as Habs fans, we're all the most excited for them to maybe go after, right? Like, there's a lot of interesting candidates there. Barlow, McGroarty, Lambert. Okay, I have my question marks about him, but if you're Kent Hughes, and we know that Winnipeg really highly values McGroarty, would you be willing to throw in something like a lot extra with Monahan to maybe go get one of their blue chip prospects? Like, what would that look like if you're like, what Intertap? What do you think it would take for Montreal to get McGroarty? Like, would you be willing, for example, to trade Monahan plus the Calgary 2025 pick plus, like, I don't know, like Beck or somebody like that, or like another, not one of our elite, like Mashar or somebody like that? Like, would you be willing to package something and maybe you even give Winnipeg another defenseman, right? Like, maybe you throw in, like a Barron or somebody like that, because if they're going to make a run, that you need, like depth at the defense position for Winnipeg, right?
And
If you're going to have a playoff run, right? So, are you willing to throw
yeah,
the
and
kitchen over to
he
those
stole
guys?
he stole the name. He stole the name right out of my tongue because what better fit for them to pick up Barron if you want to throw in
Yeah,
a little bit extra. His brother's on the
absolutely.
team. I think that's something that builds unity and chemistry on there. And if it's for McGroarty, I'm willing to put that package together right now.
You throw in the Calgary 2025 first round pick?
No, 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 no.
Okay. Well,
In
that.
addition to that, you're saying in addition to that,
Yeah. So
I think
if you're
if they're getting Monahan and Barron, they're getting quite a bit because that's That's
You're
helping
not.
both areas of needs.
Yeah, but you're not getting McGroarty. Like, so you might get, Lambert or maybe Barlow for something like that. But if you want to get there because guys, this is exactly what I was saying, right? At some point, you're not just collecting assets. Like, if I'm Kent Hughes, I'm willing to, I won't use the word overspend, right? But I'm willing to use the bulk of assets that I have to go get an elite one. And I wouldn't say McGroarty is an elite player, right? But he's elite at what he does. He's an elite leader. He's a power forward. He plays center.
He's a
I
big
think he's
body. Yeah.
exactly the kind of player like he's exactly like if we could get a player like that, that's the kind of guy that you need, right? So
We do have a lot of seconds, Marco. So I wouldn't
yeah.
mind even if I had to push it to throw in a second. But yeah, that could complete it.
I don't think a second does it though. So here, coach, would you trade coach? Would you trade Monahan, Barron,
Baron
Machar,
and a second.
and Calgary's? No, I think it'd take Calgary's first, like the 2025 Calgary pick for McGroarty in Winnipeg. Or do you think like I don't even know if Winnipeg would do that, to be honest, but do you think that would be enough to get McGroarty?
It's too much.
It would
Their
be
top.
tempted.
It's too much.
You think?
I think it's too much too. Yeah.
It's too much.
Why? What do you mean?
It's too much.
McGroarty's like McGroarty's what? Like McGroarty's
It's
like
too much. It's too much behind that. He's not going to be a top 3 in NHL first line.
what do you mean? I think he's going to be
McGroarty?
first.
No, I feel for me he's going to be a second line players, and NHL is going to score about 20, 25 goals, maybe 30 max. I would say in the past of this year because Sam Reinhart have 37 goals, but I think it will be a guy like Sam Reinhart, 25, 27 goal, 28 goal average in NHL. That's the kind of player is going to get there. Is going to play on your power play. But it's too much. I always said one reason behind that, Marco, because you don't know yet the first round pick of the Calgary behind that. And if Calgary,
that's speculation.
if you get pick number 16 on that one, it's right away. It's too much about that. I'm not worried about Barron. About that, I would not get Mezar on that and with that trade also.
I can't believe it. Like guys, you have to give to get, right? So
Yeah.
if you're Montreal, and again you have Suzuki, Doc, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky is kind of your core forward group right now, right? So again, you can pick you can use that 2025 pick, but guys, you have to break some eggs if you're going to make an omelet. Like choose a player that you think this is exactly.
If you win the lottery with that pick, Marco, what do you do?
I don't think that's likely.
But if you finish 8, 9 on that pick, what do you do that? That's my point behind that. You're not there. Now, if you talk about players select top 8, top 6 in the NHL draft, that's another conversation. But you talk about players right now, it's not the top 10. It's not a top 3 first line. Like example, I would talk more about McDavid. Do you see him better to McDavid?
No. Well,
McTavish?
Well, no.
Yeah.
Well, no. McTavish is like an elite player, right? No, I don't see. I'm not saying McGroarty is the same as McTavish, but I'm saying.
No, but there's a very good ceiling for him. And there is a possibility he could turn out to be a first liner. I mean, you just look at what he did at the juniors. I mean, he was a force to be reckoned with every single shift he was out there. I wouldn't necessarily throw picks, but I would throw prospects that we have an abundance of.
We have too many picks too, though, guys. Like
that's what I'm saying. Well, you're saying about the picks, yeah. So that's why I still maintain it gets it done if you throw that one of the second. I think they have 5 or 6 over the next 2 years, second round picks, and you throw in either Barron or Harris, and of course Monahan. It could get it done.
No, I don't think Winnipeg's not trading their
Marko,
best prospect. for a
Yeah, I
rental.
know, I know what you're saying, and I would ordinarily probably agree with that. But when you're dealing, see that they're in the same position we are with our defensemen. We could be saying, well, I won't trade Goulian, I won't trade Hudson, I won't trade Ryan Bacher, I won't trade Jack Eye, and you can go on and on. But at some point, you're going to have to make a decision, and you're going to say, well, I do have a surplus here, so I will deal this one because it fills a need somewhere else. And I think that that's the way Winnipeg will have to look at it. They might not want to dispense with him, but they'll say, well, we do have Lambert, we do have Barlow, we a couple of others there that are really good. They'll put their and they need to build on their defense too, because their defense
Yeah,
could use some.
guys, if I'm wrong and Montreal, could get a guy like McGroarty for, Monahan plus like a second round pick and a Baron or something like that, well, then holy cow, then I'll be very
Yeah,
happy. But, coach, I don't think you're like to use McTavish as an example. I think if to convince Anaheim to trade McTavish, it would probably be like 2 first round picks and another prospect, right? So there's still a huge separation between McTavish and somebody like McGroarty, but McGroarty is a really high valued asset. Like he's a blue chip prospect based on
yeah.
how not just draft position, but how he's played in his program and in the last World Juniors for sure.
Yeah, but he's
Anyway,
not the top level. He will not be on my first line in Montreal.
hard to say. Like we know Montreal is not going to be a top heavy team, right? Like
You
it's
need
likely.
you need at least a minimum a 30 scorer goal and your top line.
I think you can do that. I think you can probably score
Yeah,
30 goals in it.
I think he can put up 25 to 30. I don't doubt that. And if you're going to put him on your second line, then it bodes well for what you're building.
Yeah. Guys, we're spending a lot of time on a
Okay,
what
coach.
if, but
Yeah, exactly. What's your headliner, coach?
yeah, what's your
Right,
headline?
line, guys. But it's vacation right now, so I said, you know what? I said, why not to go to Derby? So I went to the Derby, and the Montreal Canadiens are now on the Derby right there. I did not did my headline before I know the trade from Lingholm happening tonight. I did my headline early before that, and that's just increasing the ab at the Derby right now. Why? Because right now they lead the Derby. They are on the pole of the about 16 team behind them are looking for them. So they're going to knock the door. The phone will be ringing each minute to call to cancel. Look, we want money in. We want money in. We want money in. We want money in. So for me, this is a great asset, and this is called the Derby because now can use is under great, the Formula One right now. You see that right there. He look in the mirror behind. Say, no one's going to reach me right there. I'm going to finish this the way. So, can use right now monopolize the situation about Sean Monahan. So for me, he's going to get a great asset in return, and he's going to get the best way. For me, it's exactly I opened the door earlier. They're going to get a great prospect for Monahan. That will be my targeting for Ken Hughes, my prediction for Ken Hughes. Like you said, Marco, you can go all the way to front players in NHL, right? I cannot tell you a Zegras or anyone, but my point behind that is Shaman leave the building and he's going to get a great prospect in return and a second round pick. Can he make something bigger? A package deal could include Baron Harris or whatever it is to increasing the second round pick, the first round pick, or maybe a trade on a pick asset. They have second round pick. I think they have the Colorado second round pick next season or Pittsburgh, and they can make that trade involved with money in to get a first round pick plus a prospect number one. That would be my target. That's the reason for me. They are right now. Montreal is on the they are on the Derby because now money become the biggest center to be on the conversation about that. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, I don't say going to go that way, but they have a chance to trade David Savard, Mike Madison, and Jake Allen. Everybody are looking for a goaltender. With Jake Allen, maybe it's that you're not going to get big number. But again, because the demands is there for the goaltender, that increasing the value of Jake Allen. Can they slip this with a second round pick? Who knows? Because now it's going to be a really interesting deal on the race of the Derby about this. If you look about the goaltender NHL, how many of them are on the market to get three?
Yeah,
There's probably
I
3.
hear you.
Right? So it's limited about this one for sure. So secondly, they can get, of course, like I said, they have money and Savard very interesting about that. They have something like Tampa maybe looking about that. Savard could get exit. So the reason behind that, I think the value is increasing right now, and I feel like the Montreal are in the front of the Derby because they have right now Sean Monahan to get trade for the Montreal Canadiens. And people said, oh, because Monahan leave, going to go down. Don't worry about that. We are a rebuilding team. Sean Monahan is
Yeah.
not the saver of the Montreal Canadiens at $5 million and maybe more per year. He's not. When you talk about like Sean Monahan, listen, guys, we have Kirby Dak next ski, and we're going to get maybe a UF3 in 2025 and 2026 better as Sean Monahan. So if you feel Sean Monahan is a saver Montreal Canadiens with 13 goals at 35 points and 49 games, we have a big problem, Watson. This you consider
And
Sean Monahan the best player for the Montreal Canadiens in the future, or it because it's better to Zuski and Doc? We have a problem in Montreal to evaluation players. That's for me. Sean Monahan is a third center, cannot get over $4 million, stay with the Montreal Canadiens, and not more at 3 years. Because that contract going to turn exactly like Gallagher we have right now, and in 2 years going to talk to us that, now we have a bad contract for 3 more years with Sean Monahan, produces about 40 goal, 40 point, and he play maybe 40 game per year. This is the risk you get with Sean Monahan. Better to sign that money, give it to a Jake Wenzel or a Sean Renard or a Sam Renard or another, I say, a Camp for the Sun King at $8 million at 27 years old, and then produce more as Sean Monahan is going to be 32, 33 years old at that time.
yeah, and that's exactly the point I was trying to make as well, Coach. A few episodes ago when we were discussing that, and we said, well, yes, you do lose a lot of leadership in Monahan. I don't debate that, but what you acquire in return is much more conducive to where the team is going in terms of their rebuild, and it gives younger players the opportunity to show off what ceiling they do or do not have, and you have to go through that. That's what
But I
part of
will say this,
rebuilding is all about.
but I will say this, guys, like, so because so I agree with everything, like I agree that they will move Monahan and all that. I still think though that there will be a bit of a void with him leaving in terms of leadership. We've talked a lot about Ottawa Senators, Buffalo Sabres, Edmonton Oilers before when they first had like Hall and Nugent Hopkins. Like, you can't give the locker room to a bunch of kids, all right? Like, so you do need some veteran leadership there. I'm just like, but I think you can go get veteran leadership that can add value to your locker room that doesn't cost
Yeah.
$5 million for 5 seasons, right? Like, so
Yeah,
they
you
will
can get
need.
it under $1 million.
Yeah. So you can go get some leadership in the bottom of your lineup. That's why. So, Coach, I agree. The way that I would compare it more than a derby, it's kind of like it's the end of a night in a bar, and there's only one hot girl left in the bar, and there's like 8 guys on the dance floor.
Impossible, only one.
Well, maybe not in Thailand, but
No,
but
and then we have a lot stay late at the night.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that, right? Like, Kent Hughes is the only hot girl left on the dance floor, and there was like a bunch of like drunkish guys, and it's like 1:30 in the morning. That's who Kent Hughes is right now, and it can be good, but you have to be ready for all these offers that are going to be coming your way, right? So I agree that's the case for Monahan, but like I said earlier, it's not impossible. Like, if Savard or Pearson or Allen get traded, it's not impossible, but I just don't see it as likely. Like I was saying earlier, like, soak it up, guys, because I think this Monahan move and trade is going to be the most exciting thing part about this deadline for Montreal. But it's in my nature to try to lower my expectations too, guys. I don't like to.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, Marko.
So maybe
I know where
something
you're
cool.
coming from. Yeah.
But I honestly feel that Montreal should keep David Savard though. I just don't think it's a good idea to move him, to be honest. Like even if you get a first round
especially
pick
if
for him,
Monahan is going. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just one correction as well, Frankie. The offer was not just Monahan in a second for McGroarty. I would agree that would not get the job done. We had thrown in Barron as well, or I did, anyways, and I think that could get it done.
No, I don't think that gets it done. Honestly, I think you need to throw it. Like they'd be looking for something more than that. Pretty confident. But if they could, great. But I don't think they would.
Great point
We'll
about
see.
that. Anything else about my derby?
No, coach. Like it looks like. Do you bet on horses, or is this where you got the inspiration from?
I was trying to read. I had no time. I apologize, but I was trying to get the race dog,
Okay.
right, with a rabbit in the front. They chase a
Oh,
rabbit.
rabbit.
So with
Yeah.
my new
Hound dog.
software, I can put the logo on the dog on the rabbit, and it's moving with the rabbit.
Oh, okay.
I had no time for that one to make a video, but I will make something very soon about this for sure.
The Hound Dogs, yes.
So that one. Honestly, we are a little bit late tonight, but it's okay. It's the middle of the week, so it's not a big deal about that. The subject of the night, it's not about our airlines. It's about the trade to keep the first round pick in 2024. We steer the pot around with money on trade and everything. The airline, it was a little bit not similar, but differently. But it comes to the way at the same with money on. But what do you do if you're Montreal Canadiens? And I would say to you, okay, they have top 5 or pick number, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you have 8, 9, 10. So you can go those 3 picks. We don't know exactly what Montreal are going to select. I believe Montreal is going to be between 5 to 7 at the end of the year. Look like descending, it look like, right? But your answer have to go with that direction of the pick. You can give us exactly if they pick 5, I'll make the trade or not. If they pick 7, I'll do the same thing. But if they are 8, 9, 10, yes, I trade the pick. So who want to start first and maybe have a better way?
Enortap, go ahead, man. I feel like I've been talking too much anyways.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's hard to speculate upon, even if we're going to say it's a 5th or 6th round pick. I think that they're looking at different opportunities, and if it means that they take that pick and maybe bundle it with someone or another pick that they might have, and it gets them to a position where they're going to get a top-notch prospect, but then of course by all means you do it. I know that this year, the top 10, there's some really good players there, but half of them are defensemen, and it's not an area of need right now. We'd be looking for a forward, even though you're obviously going to take the best player available at that spot. But I would keep it as an option, but kind of like what they did with the Romanov deal, right? In order to get Doc and bundle it up with another pick and sort of go that direction. So I would entertain it for sure, but it has to be the right return.
So yeah, like I think it really depends too, right? Like yeah, I think the Habs are likely to pick somewhere between 5 and 8. We'll say, So if I'm Ken Hughes, then I have usually what they do is they have like levels, right? So they have all teams have their own list, right? So depending who's on your list, like these GMs, they have a lot of deals that are kind of they have conversations going into the draft, and they have a good idea of kind of what everybody's looking for and everything else, right? There's a little bit of poker, I'm sure, that goes on as well too, right? But similar to kind of what Barry Trotz did with Montreal, saying like, if one of the centers that we want is available at your pick, we'll trade you Askarov and this, like whatever the deal was for that pick. And I'm sure Montreal also had those kinds of conversations too, right? So Montreal will probably have conversations like that again. And they might even have conversations with other teams saying, like if we don't get Lindstrom, let's say, for example, Lindstrom is the guy that they're targeting, or it's Yzerman or whoever it is that they're going to be targeting. If their player is not there, Kent Hughes is going to have some options, right? He's not just going to kind of like try to improvise on the spot. He's going to understand what is available. So, what teams are interested in this pick to pick probably a defenseman in that spot? Who's really interested in that pick? And they're going to have a whole breakdown of all those organizations' prospects. And they're going to go into the draft understanding, okay, so if Nashville calls us, here's who we like from Nashville. If the Islanders call us, who's here? This is who we like from the Islanders, right? So I suspect that Hughes is going to go into this draft. I think it's clear that they would love to get a player like Lindstrom. They want to get a forward in this draft. But if it's depending on where they are in the draft, if they win the lottery or whatever happens, if they feel they can't get that forward prospect that they want, they're going to look at all the options available. And if one of those, they're probably going to lean towards either trading that pick. Because I know, Coach, like your theory was that they're going to draft a good defenseman and then you can flip one of those defensemen to get the forward that you're going to want, right? To me, that's adding
Yeah.
an unnecessary. It's adding an unnecessary step. Why draft that defenseman and then trade another defenseman? Like, why not just use the pick to get the forward that you want? Like, it's why add more complexity to what you're trying to do? You have an
Because the
asset.
player you get draft,
Because,
you don't know his ceiling. The player you already have played 150 game in NHL give you an idea what kind of ceiling he can reach in NHL. So for me, um, I don't have no example in front of me, but if you get Zegras example, right, in
Mhm.
return, and then you have Catton, the you know exactly what the Zegras can do in NHL, but you don't know yet Captain what he can do in NHL. So if you drop Leshinov, he's better going to be a better defenseman to Rebacker or any other defenseman. That asset, and with that asset you already have, could reach like Ramanov, bring a 13 overall pick. That 13 gave a doc. So that's the way I believe Montreal could select a defenseman because they're increasing the defenseman side, and they know with that defenseman that they're going to trade, they can get players like Kirby Dak versus Keaton. Keaton, exactly what he did. 13 over pick, it was Nazar, I believe, on that pick from Chicago. And that's the reason, that's the way I believe the Montreal could go that direction.
But I still don't think so. Okay, so we agree then. So ultimately, though, I just don't understand. You're saying that if they choose a defenseman in this draft, how do they know that they're going to be better than Reinbacher? Like, yeah, he's projected to be that way, but if you're saying that you're doing that out of position of strength because you know that they're going to be better than Reinbacher, I don't think that's true. Like, to me, like,
For
yes,
example, like
you
you
know,
take Lenchenov right now for Michigan State.
yeah,
And on the other prospect, the Montreal Canadiens is going to be considered for the staff like the top best defenseman.
maybe,
So
but
it's
like,
all about the evaluation they have in front of them. That's the data they got.
yeah.
That's the reason I would say to you. So it's like Rebecca. For them, they will consider him better to any other defenseman in the NHL draft last season, and they feel
but
like
he's
they
left,
would bring that what they're looking for again. They are no
but he's
listen. Mac Dumont from the Montreal hockey now. They put him 7 now, and he consider him like a boss now. He just said to me, he responded to me. He said he's not a boss, but now he's a 7, and on his list of the AB prospect 7, and is the highest number initial draft for the Montreal Canadiens. He put him 7. So
I
for
saw
me,
that. I saw your exchange on X, but what I'm saying, Coach, is well, first of all, he's a left-handed defenseman, right? So to me, it seems like it's adding more complexity to the situation than you need to. Now, granted, teams have the best understanding of their own prospects than any other team, right? Like You're the one that has, you've been monitoring them and you've been evaluating them very closely, like no other teams. So if they really believe that the upside of one of like whether it's Gooley or Barron or who, any of those defensemen, whether it's Reinbacher, Hudson, if they feel that like his value is probably the highest, and based on what our analysis, he's not going to project as high as we thought he was, then maybe that makes sense. And then you sell high on Reinbacher as high as you think you're going to be able to. So it's not impossible, coach. But to me, the more likely move is if you're talking to all these other teams, right, and they really want that pick, whether it's the 7th pick or whatever, and you have the player that you want from those teams, the most logical move is you trade that pick for the player that you want, rather
You're
than
talking about a prospect, right?
Because
You're talking about
instead of drafting a very good prospect, because
Yeah.
how often does it happen where a team drafts someone and then they get traded like with it, like
No,
it's
but
almost like
Marco is exactly
the
what I just
value
said.
goes up right away.
It's exactly what I just said. Now, you can draft a better defenseman you don't have, and that player you're talking about, you have already, like Rebacker, get exactly
Yeah.
the player you're going to give and return for that pick. For that pick.
What if the team doesn't want Reinbacher? If they're calling you about that pick, they want the pick, not Reinbacher, right? So to me, the more logical exchange is, again, like going into a draft, GMs are going to understand, okay, who's interested. They're going to get calls before the draft, and they're going to say, hey, like, are you thinking about trading that pick? Well, yeah, we're open to discussions or whatever. And then you have an idea going into the draft that if the player you wanted at that spot is not available, then Hughes will know all of his options. And if
Yeah.
one of those options is like like a top 6 forward that was drafted 2 years ago or whatever, like, again, a Kirby Doc kind of player that they want, to me, that's the most logical thing that you would do. It's the most direct path to what you need.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So all that being
They will
said,
explore all avenues.
yeah,
Rest
like,
assured
I
that
think we all agree.
they're not.
Yeah, that's I think we all agree, right? Is we want them to go in knowing what they want, hopefully
Yeah.
identifying what their needs are. Now, in every other draft, we've talked about, always drafting best player available. And coach has his theory that they're going to pick the best player available and then continue down the path of trying to convert assets into what they want. To me, I would prefer that they convert, like I was saying, phase 2 for me, I'd like it to start this summer. Let's use the assets we have right now, identify players that are available, and go get them right away. I get a little bit nervous, guys. Like, if you're a defenseman being drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, how confident are you that you're going to have a future in this organization? Like, don't forget, guys, like, you still have to sign these players that you're drafting. So if you keep drafting defensemen, you don't think their agent at some point is going to say, congratulations for being drafted into the NHL, but have you looked at their depth on defense? Like, we might be able to get to play in the NHL in
Well,
2027.
Marco, look what happened with Anaheim. They
Yeah.
just trade Jimmy Twistle.
Yeah.
So it's happening for, like, if Anaheim pick Lenshunov and they already have about 6 defensemen, Lenshunov say, "Oh, I don't want to go to Anaheim because now I maybe not made the play." It's just the confidence. It's just the players on the top. I mean, if it's a pick number 22nd, he will still have to fight to get a spot over there. But again, I don't see that way for me. Montreal pick the best player they have in front of them. If it's a defenseman, they're going to figure out something else after that.
Yeah, for sure.
In my opinion, and they have 2 great defensemen on the 3 great defensemen, but I don't see Montreal select a Russian. So they're not going to select Demidov. They're not going to select Zaryab. So I remove them on that. He become, in my opinion, Langstrom. And going after that, it will be the Dickinson, the defenseman over there. One of the two.
Left-handed.
Now they can add maybe Catton, and they want to not to touch any defenseman. But that will be that those three players, I believe, is going to be on the spot between 5 to 7 for the Montreal Canadiens. They go that way. Can Alzerman to Rob because his lack of pushing all the time. I don't know about that, but and again, another factor we don't talk yet. It's how depend who is in front of you and the standing at the on the draft pick, because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
a pick like Columbus could maybe I just said Columbus, but it could be another team. So you know what, well maybe enough defensemen and equal talent, uh, maybe go. Like Montreal said, you know what? Dickinson, Catton, or maybe on the evaluation, Marko, 85, 83 example. That's the ranking I said. So you know what? We can go with 83 Catton versus because they may be not like 85 to 65 example. So Montreal can decide to go that direction, equal talent to go a little bit more advantage the forward because they have a lack of that at this moment. But um, I repeat, Montreal are unlucky. Sam Kenyos got the job.
Oh
First
yeah,
year was Sakaski was not a great year as a skilled talent. They maybe picked one of the
number
top
one.
best three players. I understand that. Last year
Yeah,
they missed the cut of the top four centers in NHL, and now this year, who knows could happen if they are not at the top five.
yeah. Like it's you're right,
Well,
coach. Like
that's
it's
why
a
it's
little
a gamble.
yeah, it's kind of like walking through raindrops, right? Like the worst like you said, like the worst year to win the lottery. Like we all love Slavkovsky, but you know, you win the lottery, you expect that you're going to get an elite generational talent. Like that's the hope, right? It just wasn't there for Montreal. And then last year, just off that cutoff line to get a really really quality good center. So, but it is what it is, coach. Like you have to kind of play with the cards that you're dealt. And I think Montreal, like I said, they're in this asset collection phase. At some point, they're going to need to, really come up with a creative way to convert these assets. Whether that happens at the draft, and in whatever way, I think if you're an amateur scout, if you're a pro scout for the Montreal Canadiens, you're going to absolutely be earning your salary this year. It's a really critical draft this year because if as a management team, like yes, like Jeff Molson is patient, but I don't think that they expect to be in an asset collection phase for another 2 years. Like
No,
at
they
some
can't
point
be
you
like
need to.
Arizona. Like
No, no, no,
Arizona's just stockpiled their picks and they're taking
no.
bad contracts, which I understand, but you can't build that way.
Yeah, like yes, you want to do the. I'm not saying you're not cheating. Like again, you can do a Detroit, right, and you can kind of like, okay, you know what? We tried the rebuild, and now we're gonna go sign some UFAs and try to accelerate this a little bit more. I think it's kind of in between what Arizona is doing and what Detroit's doing, right? Like you want to add a little bit of veteran, kind of presence there to make sure that the young players are well surrounded and are supported and everything else. But at some point here, you're going to have to start putting together a roster that makes sense. And obviously these players have to hit. Not all these prospects are going to hit, coach. Like people,
Yeah.
like, as Habs fans, after Owen Beck's first camp, they already had him playing third line center for the Montreal Canadiens this year or next year. Hold on, guys. Like we'll see. Like hopefully that's the case,
And
but
maybe he still might. Yeah.
he
I
might.
mean,
Like
I'm glad he's looked better since the trade. He's
yeah, yeah,
definitely made a step in the right direction. But you're right. Like the prospects, it's a crapshoot, especially as they get to be later picks, right?
exactly. Right. Like where Beck was picked is, you have like I think it's like a 30% chance to play more than 150 games in the NHL.
Yeah.
That's what the stats say, guys. So,
So
we need to start converting.
first of all, great, and I'm just go that way with there, right? Montreal keep their pick number, whatever it is, 5, 6, 7. Couple of years ago, San Jose trade their 11th overall pick for 3 pick, 27, 34, and 45. I see a team like Minnesota where they're going to be 9, 10, 11, 12, and the bank of the prospect is not huge there, and they don't
Yep.
have a lot of draft pick at the top first round, second round, third round. So if Montreal get a pick for my end 27, they get the pick number 38,
7.
right?
Yeah.
And then, and I want to check in with you one more thing, guys. Montreal should have another pick, second round pick, I believe.
They do. Yeah.
No, they don't have the pick 37 anymore. Is trade already. They got the pick of Colorado, but they have the third round pick at the Montreal. It would be 67. So if Montreal trade maybe the second round pick and the 2025, so they gave the 27, the 30 something, and then the 50 or the 50 pick, and they get the first overall pick of Minnesota. Do you make that trade?
Yeah. Coach, at this stage, Kent Hughes said it in his press conference when he signed Montembeault, I think, right? We have, what did he say, like 27 picks or whatever it is in the next couple of years in the draft, or what? It's an insane amount, right? They're going to try to do that. They're going to try to convert the volume of assets they have to try to get higher quality. There's no question. Whether you're converting that for a roster, like, a young player that can come in and they feel that they believe in, or it's improving your rank in the draft, then that's what they're going to do for sure. At this point, it's not about quantity. And you're right, there are different organizations like Minnesota. Pittsburgh is another one, that Toronto is another one. They just are completely bare. Like Toronto's in a different place because they're actually competing, and they're contending potentially for a cup. Don't laugh. They're in the conversation, right? Compared to, say, Pittsburgh, right? Like, which is kind of idling right now. So you're right. Like, those, to me, that is a good opportunity for Montreal, is looking for teams like that want to do that. Again, Coach, do you remember which player that San Jose, or what player was drafted? Because I think there's been cases where if you go back at the draft and you look at teams that have traded down, it doesn't usually work out very well, right? Like the player that ends up getting picked turns out to be a pretty good one. I think it was San Jose that did that, and I forget who it was, but it was a really good player that ended up getting picked instead. I can't remember who it was, but I'm not a huge fan of trading. Like, I wouldn't want Montreal to trade down, that's for sure. But yeah, if other teams are willing to do it, then absolutely. I think that's something Montreal should explore. And that's all part of the options we talked about, right? Kent Hughes, he's going to know exactly who's interested in what going into the draft. Hopefully he's part of those conversations. Maybe other than the Rangers, Coach, because we've heard that the relationship between Chris Drury and Jeff Gordon, not so good, and the lines of communication might not be so good between the Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens. So I knew I was going to get blowback for saying that Leafs are contending in the chat, but they are. They are.
No, not the way they're constructed right now.
Enortap, do you draft Leonard instead of Rebecca?
I definitely. I was hoping that we would pick up Leonard last year. This guy's ready to. He's NHL ready already. Like, he's ready to really rip the league apart, and I have a lot of confidence in his abilities, and I think he's going to show us all. He's very, very solid player.
I like Leonard or Benson instead of Reinbacher, but yeah.
It's in Vegas, Nicholas, the next one over there. Nicholas said they are taking Kulish, Bisted, or Lambert instead of Mezar for that one there. Roger Colette said, you guys are all dreamer. No rebuild is happening. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Sure, we're rebuilding. This is all for nothing. I'd be worried.
Luke Lafortune, he just did the draft, so now we don't have to talk about this anymore. It's the deal. Chicago #1, Montreal #8, and they select Saliev. So we can come back in October,
Thanks,
Marco,
Luke.
and that way. And Anaheim take the lead 1-0 again. The Sun was the Sharks tonight, and a goal of I don't know. Lundestrom. Here we go. Sorry about that. Lundestrom score for Anaheim Ducks for that one. Frankie said, surprise, Montreal trade Montembeault. Okay, just a dream, but a huge move to do. And stay with Allen Primo and take the next big one trade about that one there.
Surprise! That is a surprise. Yeah.
I know your answer, Marco, but for me, it's time to trade Primo.
I'd be like
I'd
now
be
that
okay with it.
now that Carter Hart is going to be MIA for a while, potentially 2-3 years, or potentially the rest of his career, depending on how things play out. You know, the Philadelphia Flyers, like, they do like Urson over there, and he's had a good run, but they're gonna need a secondary option there, right? So Primo is from Philadelphia, so we know that they like him. So, you know, I wouldn't be horrified if they trade Primo and they keep Allen. Like, I'd be fine with that. You know, like going into next season for Allen, as long as you get something decent for Primo, right? Like if you can get like a third or second round pick for Primo.
No. Yeah, it's just gave Primo.
Nah, I don't know if I'd want to just give him like at least something back, you know. But because of how Fowler is playing right now, you know, I feel a little bit better about the depth of the pipeline for goaltending. So, you know, if it makes sense, like I wouldn't just give away Primo. It obviously, if they were just going to give him away, they would have. Why put the whole team through this really awkward experience for the last several months if they were just going to give away Primo for nothing, right? So if you can get something back for him, like Philadelphia, you know, they have some interesting little pieces there as well. I don't know how they evaluate Primo, but it might be a lot of pressure for him to go to Philadelphia and do that. So could be interesting though.
About that. For me, it's just they have to go with two goaltenders right now. It's just like for everybody would benefit Jake Allen, Simon Montembeault overall. And I think they need a guy like Jake Allen right now on the leadership side of the game of the team if ever they lose Sean Monahan. And that would be perfectly great. And I think you're absolutely right. The second half of Tobas, whatever they lost tonight, 4-3, Tobas looked better. And then maybe they can sign a contract at the goaltender, the new one from
A
Finland,
lot better.
for that one. So I think for me, that would be the good way to go. We'll see what happening about Jake Allen and Kenan Primo, the third goaltender of the Montreal Canadiens, for sure. Let's see what we got here. Go right there. Where if I have to ask you one player the MVP for Montreal Canadiens so far since the beginning of the season, what it would be?
Enortap, go first.
I'm thinking.
Unless you think about it. Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go first. Go first.
For me, Coach, probably the most consistent. And to be honest, like you could have made a good case for him going to the All-Star game instead of Nick Suzuki. I'd probably say Matheson. You know, like he is what he is. Like we know that he's, you know, has his inconsistencies when it comes to his defensive play and everything else. But, you know, in terms of his consistency, he's been healthy this year, hasn't really missed a lot of time. You know, he's just been a really, really important piece for Montreal. And I think underestimated leadership too. Like we've been hearing some reports out of the locker room that his influence in the locker room is probably even a bit more than we thought. Like a couple times he's gotten up and spoken to the team and things like that. So in terms of consistency, performance, I think he's like top 15 in defensive scoring in the NHL. So, you know, he could, like I said, he could have easily been Montreal's representative at the All-Star game, in my opinion. So again, like to me, he's probably the most consistent guy that I would have as your MVP. Monahan's been pretty consistent as well. So that would probably be my pick.
Enortap.
Yeah, I was hesitating a little bit because I mean, on the one hand, I was thinking about Montebo, and I think with the exception of really one game, he's really played very, very well this year. And we've seen that he can definitely handle more duty. And he's stolen a couple games for them as well. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be where they are right now in terms of that. But I mean, the other goalies haven't been bad either. So I commend all three. But yes, Montebo has been by far. Sorry.
He just hasn't played enough, right? Like it's hard to call him your
Yeah,
MVP
yeah,
when you're
exactly.
rotating.
So given that, I mean, I would say MVP so far is the person that we're trying to trade right now. I think Monahan, has been playing well on any line he's been on. I think he's third on the team in scoring, if I'm not mistaken. He's been a leader. He's just been everything as advertised, and that's why the hope is that he brings a good return here. So
But
I would probably venture to give it to Monahan right now.
look how much ice time Matheson is. Like it's insane the amount
Yeah,
of ice time.
yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. That's a good choice as well. I just think Matheson right now is playing like he shouldn't necessarily be your number one defenseman.
But the
That's
question is
my only concern.
your
I
question is
think if
who's your
he
most
had,
valuable player? Who's your most valuable
yeah,
player this year? Question, right?
no, but the point I was trying to get at was the fact that I guess in my eyes, I'm not only seeing the great plays offensively that he's contributed
Yeah,
to, but I'm also seeing the errors, and I don't want to necessarily blame him for that because I think he's logging more ice time than he
exactly.
can probably chew, and so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard because I think he should probably be your second line, second grouping of defensemen, the second line, and he would be excellent at that position, bringing in about 20 minutes a night.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like the more minutes you play, the more exposure that you're going to get, right? But
Of course,
coach,
of course.
tiebreaker, who's your MVP so far for Montreal?
Now, we
Josh,
call about
right?
the MVP. That equal for me, MVP. Like, for me, is about who gave the more W for Montreal, who performed the most, gave a chance Montreal Canadiens to win game night after night. And without him on the lineup, the team going to be a difficult time more. And you can talk about Sakaski, Monahan, Caulfield, and Suzuki. But I think they not bring that team to the next level where they will who they are today. So for me, it have to be between Montembeault and Madison. That's all. Now Montembeault, my only problem about Montembeault is because he only start, I believe, 17 game maybe. Oof, that would be a
Yeah,
good
something like that.
something,
Yeah.
right? I don't see like Montembeault. Now he have a better month of the month of January because he got half of the start for he had 23 start. I apologize, 23 starts. So he's not at the half yet of the Montreal Canadiens start. So I have to go with Mike Madison. And now we all, many of you are agreed to said he's not a first pairing, everything like that. Um, he played 25 minutes per game right now since he joined the Montreal Canadiens. If you remove 25 minutes, who can perform it like he does with the Montreal Canadiens night after night, power play, PK, and play again the first opponent team every single night. So for me, I have to go with Mike Madison, like I was saying, Marko. I will go, Montebo is really close at some point. It's just Montebo does not have enough game to justify that level for that. And that's the way I see that. Because if you remove Madison, Montreal are going to be like nobody can get. So just for me, it's the MVP because he gave the most for the Montreal Canadiens in the beginning. You can complaining about the turnover, but this is a normal. Uh, when you have the puck, you're going to create more turnover. When you carry on the puck, you're going to create turnover. We would love to have Ely be better and defensive zone, yes. Could we like him to turn the puck less, yes. But he play guys 26, 28 minutes, 29 minutes per game. Sometimes he play 30 minutes. So it's not easy for the body. And we talk about back-to-back game. It's not about one game every 5 games. It's every game. So for me, I have to go with Mike Madison for that
Now,
part.
real quick before we move off this, coach, if you were to say who is the MVP in 2024, not the whole season, and GSM just brought this too, right? You know who starts creeping into that conversation a little bit, in my opinion, and people, it might be controversial because the points don't necessarily show it that way, but Uri Slavkovsky, guys, because
Yeah, of
not
course, of
only
course.
because, like we've talked about many times, right? Like you can say that his season took off when he started playing with Suzuki and Caulfield, but if you watch the games, you can tell many of those nights he was the one driving play for those two guys. Not it wasn't like those two guys were carrying him. He was carrying them a lot of the time, like really keeping plays alive in the offensive zone and everything else. Then they switch him to Monahan and playing with Monahan and with Roy, and now with he's down. They have him with Armia, right? And all of a sudden, Monahan gets even hotter than he was before, right? So you're starting to see Slavkovsky have an impact. And guys, what have we talked about? Maybe a little bit critical about Suzuki and Caulfield in the past is you expect your star players to make the players around them better. That's kind of what we're starting to see with Slavkovsky. So I know maybe
Yeah,
that
there's
But
doesn't make
he's not the MVP.
no,
no,
but
no.
I'm saying
He's saying
he's
from
getting into that
2024
conversation.
only.
He's getting into that conversation, right? Like if you're just who's the MVP of just in 2024 so far, not the beginning of the season, not in 2023. If you look, Monahan is still the guy, but he's creeping into that conversation because he's making players around him better. And that to me is a huge signal of a really important player. And what we expect that Suzuki and Caulfield would do, you know, we always say, oh, they need somebody to come and complete them. Well, I don't think
Yeah.
we're going to have that same conversation with Slavkovsky. It's going to be he's the guy that you put on a line to elevate people. And to me, that's very exciting to have a player like that.
It's funny because Sarkozy did the same thing with Team
Team
Slovakia,
Czechia.
the World Junior.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Same with the World Championship also in April. They will play for line. I think at Tatar, he
Yeah.
said we should bring him on the first line. Then he picked it up. Everybody with that. Now, I
Yeah.
said to you, he's one of them. Is for me the most improvement players in the beginning of the season. Yeah,
For
no
sure.
doubt in my mind. Him and Coley dominate. That'll bring my next
The
question.
MIP.
Um, that
He's
would
the
bring my
MIP.
next question, guys, about that one over there is who did not progress, in your opinion?
Oh,
Go ahead.
I think that's. I mean, you have RHP. I mean, you can throw in the fact that the injury came into play, but I haven't really. I mean, he's definitely not putting the puck in at the anywhere near the rate that he was earlier. He does a lot of good things, but still,
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
see that
not about
progression.
progression. I don't see.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, Anderson's been hot a couple times here and there, but I mean, that's been a disappointment. There hasn't been any progression there. Um, I would even throw in maybe. I would have expected a little bit more offensive contribution from somebody like Evans, and we haven't seen that. Even though again he does the little things well, he's not going to hurt you defensively, but you also expect that line to contribute from time to time, and I haven't seen either himself or his line mates really do that.
To me, the top guys that I think of Ylonen, just I think he's, again, some people might say he hasn't gotten as many opportunities as he deserves, but for the opportunities he did get, I don't feel he made enough of those, and I just don't see him. Like, he has a lot of the tools, right? Like, he's got good size, he's fast, he has a good shot. He's just not putting it all together. Like, I just don't see him finding a chair, like Sandy we would say. He didn't grab a chair. You need to find a spot for yourself, in the lineup. And I just he hasn't, like, could he be a penalty killer, second unit power play guy? He just hasn't really done anything. So for me, Ylonen, Barron, again, like, I have to throw him into there, like, a little bit of progression, and then I think he's pretty much the same
Been
player
a
we saw
roller
last.
coaster, Marko. He's been a roller
So,
coaster.
yeah. So the question is, who hasn't progressed? So to me, he's the same as we saw last year, right? Up and down, not physical enough, not able to be solid enough in his own zone, like, gets knocked off the puck and off his feet quite a bit. So no progression for me for Barron. He's gotten more reps, and good. Like, he had like a solid, 40 games with the big team. Like, he didn't start the season, and then, had a good run. But I don't think we saw a lot of progression. And then, will I venture to throw dynamite into the chat by saying Arbor Jacki? Not a lot of progression there. Enortap, I did watch the show on Sunday. Really didn't agree
Yeah,
with your take on the fact that
I saw your comment.
yeah. I didn't really agree that Montreal is being unfair with Jacki, or that they're they're picking on him. Guys, I just don't feel like he's played very well in those two games, and certainly, not just because he took penalties. He took penalties because he had bad reads and he wasn't in the right position. And again, not to be
But
a dick about it.
I don't see that any more problematic than any one of our defensemen right now, including
Well, that's why they
Matheson,
got.
in terms of defensive play. And
Yeah, but
that's the part that irks me. It isn't the fact that I'm thinking, wow, he's played at this level and really he's down here, and so I'm making an argument for the wrong thing. What I'm saying is, we're not looking at it with the same lens.
no,
And what they're doing is, you're creating a sense of trepidation in what his play is all about, when you constantly are harping at, well, you got a penalty, and then you say, we're a team that opens up. We're very clear with our vision. He comes and apologizes to you, which I believe is a mistake.
Yes, it's a
In the
big
first
mistake.
place.
It's a big
Yes,
mistake when you step up, you go to
right.
see the coach. I'm sorry, coach, I make two mistakes right there. This is called exactly what you
And
talked yesterday about fragile. Is
that's
fragile
right.
right now.
That's
He's
right.
really fragile. This is
So
not the
now
right
he's
way.
playing within his own mind because of the way the treatment has been imposed on him. And then
treat
he wasn't
guys.
sent down. No, Marco, I have to disagree with this, because I really believe that there's potential there, and
Of course,
you have to teach it. Not every player will develop in the same fashion. So your
of course
job,
not.
maybe not necessarily as the coach, but as assistant coaches or other people that are involved in the treatment of the player, is you have to find, how do I get through to this player? And it's
Of
not
course,
by saying,
I don't disagree with that,
and
but
and
you can't compare. You're comparing Matheson to Jacki and making mistakes. Well, like we just talked about,
no.
Matheson's on the ice for 25 minutes. Of course, he's going to make a lot more. He's going to have the opportunity to
Okay,
make a
well,
lot more mistakes, and he
pick
brings.
anybody else. Pick Barron, pick Harris, pick
But they
even
sent.
Gooley,
They
pick
sent Barron down.
Galley. But they,
Okay, well,
yeah, but
Galley's
they
a
haven't
different.
sent Harris.
You can't compare those guys. Like, Gallagher is a veteran in the NHL, is locked into a long-term contract. You can't compare it. Barron, you can compare for sure, and like, it's like, to me, what I'm seeing with Jacki, and guys, like, this narrative developed somehow. Somebody in the media at some point said, oh, Jacki is playing awesome in Laval. Okay, well, let's break that down a little bit. Yes, flashy, nice rushes, good offensive numbers. Like, he had good production playing with Mayu. But guys, if you watch the games,
I did.
leaving
I
guys
did.
wide open, skating across the ice to hit a guy, leaving a whole part of the ice wide open, like would drive me nuts. And that's what, like, they asked Jacky to go to Laval, not to, bring the crowd to their feet and make big hits, get into fights, put points with Mayu. That's not why they sent him to Laval. They sent him to Laval to chill out, learn how to play in a little sandbox. Because now what people will say, like, oh, you're trying to change Jacky, you're trying to break him from. No, I want him to be a monster and be physical and be intimidating. Of course, that's what makes him who he is. Two things can be true at once. You can be physical, you can do that, but when you start looking to, like, you have to find the time in the game to do that, and you can't break out of your positioning to try to go find that. Unless there's a specific time of the game where you feel that the team is flat, maybe you do take a risk there and you go out of your way to hit someone to, because you feel like your team needs a boost, right? But that's why they sent him to Laval to do that. And if you look at the games he played down there, I don't think he came even close to doing that. So now you bring him back
And
up,
okay, so I ask
and
you why you bring him back up then. If
you
you've
brought it.
seen him and you're putting a focal point on him, don't bring him
Yeah,
up.
I
And
think
that's my problem. Like he comes up here and you sit him. Either he plays in Laval or he plays here, but he's got to play in order
I
to
agree
improve.
with you there. Coach nailed it, right? Like they brought him up, I think, specifically for a purpose to play against Ottawa. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't send him back down to Laval with this break to get him back, because as a guy, like, if you just had two bad games, I'm sure he might even watch this show, right? Like, everybody's talking about this conversation. He's probably, reading a whole bunch of things about him. He's going on YouTube, watching all these videos, people debating about him or whatever. And I think if you just had a couple bad games and everybody's talking about you, wouldn't you rather just go back and go play right away, rather than now he's going to go, he's probably on a beach somewhere. So he's probably not watching this video. He's probably on a beach. I think he's actually with Gallagher and
It's money.
all those guys.
It's money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're
By
they're having a
staying
good time.
here, he's making more money.
Yeah, 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 that's true too,
So
right? So, but
yeah,
I don't disagree with you there, Enortap. Like, I don't think it was the right move to bring him up, but I think probably the reason is they just saw Barron's play deteriorating so much that it was kind of like a, okay, like, it's trading one set of problems for another. Like, Barron wasn't really doing that well, and maybe they felt they wanted to see, okay, so, has he learned these lessons yet, right? Because sometimes in the AHL, like, it's because the AHL is too easy for him. Like, I agree, like, he's an absolute dominant player over there, but what it's kind of like a test, right? Like, they're sent him there not to be the center of the show. He needs to focus on being a solid defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. And I think so. All that to say, I still have a lot of faith in him, and I agree that he's a very valuable asset. I don't think I hear people comparing him to PK and all these things. Like, I don't think
no,
it's
no,
like
you
that
can't
at
make
all.
those comparisons. No,
No, I don't. I
no,
don't think it's like that at all.
yeah.
So I don't think, I think it's completely fair. If you look at those two games he played, he did not play well. He did not have a good game. Again, it takes him maybe a little while to get his rhythm back and everything. But some of the penalties that he took, again, like, some of them were reacting because he wasn't in a good position, but one of them was just like, that obstruction call where it wasn't just, oh, I'm out of position, I have to hook someone to so that there's not a 2-on-1. It was just he skated behind a guy who didn't have the puck and cross-checked him from behind for no reason. To me, that's not just, oh, okay, like, he made a mistake. That's like selfish. That's a selfish move. He just, in his mind, he has that instinct, oh, I'm gonna pump up the guys by cross. Like, I don't know what's going through his head. But similar to Galley,
But he
they've
hasn't
been,
done that. He hasn't done that since he's been back.
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm not saying he had a good game, but you can't say he had a bad game.
yes, I can.
No,
I
well,
can. He had a bad
it'd
he had
be.
two bad, he wasn't completing his
I
first pass
disagree.
were good. His positioning wasn't very good. And Enortap, one of the penalties of the game, he took 2 penalties. One of the penalties was what he just said. He came up, he was called for interference. It wasn't like there was the one interference call where he was a little bit flat-footed and the guy was about to skate by him, so he hooked him, right? And he put his stick up. That happens, right? It's a mistake. You hold the guy because you don't want him to go on a breakaway. Those things happen 100%. But the penalty, if you go, and coach, maybe you can find this and we can look at it again, because I know you have all these fancy tools. I believe it was the second penalty or the first penalty he took in that game. There was a winger that was coming down the boards. The puck wasn't anywhere near him, and Xhekaj just came up and cross-checked him in the back. That's not just I'm out of position and I react and I hook someone. That's like a selfish decision to cross-check a guy for whatever reason. So if I'm saying I'm not as upset for him taking a penalty. It's not as simple as, okay, he took a penalty. Taking penalties, sometimes those things happen, but it's taking selfish penalties and dumb penalties. He can't do that. Anyways,
it's about awareness, right? Sometimes you have a bad decision about your skill where you cannot finish the player. Sometimes it's about awareness where you have to be aware what's going on and when you have to do a play or a bad play. And right now, Xhekaj, like many other players, sometimes you walk on the edge of the coaching staff or of the management or the team at the end of the day. And he's right now at the edge of everything because he did not progress. And secondly, one of the biggest problems for him is indiscipline. Someone else could be on defensive zone coverage. We talk about Barron. Barron, his biggest problem, if he cannot improve his defensive physicality in the corner, his battle 1v1, whatever is called 9 goal, is never going to make him to stay in the NHL. That's the reason he returned in Laval, because he need to improve his defensive zone physicality, everything like that. For Xhekaj, it's going to be his indiscipline. Until he's not fixed that problem, I think it will be a difficult time for him to stay in NHL with the Montreal Canadiens, whatever it is. That is a specific role for him. Is going to be in NHL is a third pairing, and if he cannot change this, it will be, like I said, hard. On the flip side, I think he have the talent to be in NHL as a third pairing for that. Until then,
he does, but he's got to play wherever he is. He's got to play. That's the bottom line that I'm trying to get.
Yeah, but he cannot play a guy like him right now if he gave you a 2 penalty per game.
So put him in Laval. Let's call a spade a spade.
But again, if you repeat the same problem in Laval, it's not going to helping him. My point.
Yeah, but you don't bring. If you don't think somebody is ready, coach, you don't bring him up. You don't bring him up.
No. It's not about to bring him up. My point is he need to improve this facet of his game. If not, he will not play anywhere and nowhere. So he need to improve that part of that. And when you play like this in Enortap, you always worry, right? You walk on the edge. You're going to fall from the on the cliff or not. Same thing right now. If he said, if I hit this guy, can I get it? Do I have a penalty? So this is really where you need to work more. So you know what? Someone have to tell him. So you know what? Don't worry about that. Just play hockey game. That's what he should do right now. Because
I understand that, and I agree. I understand and I agree. But that doubt in his mind now has been created because he hasn't been taught properly. It's black and white. It's like if I have a classroom of students, some will learn in different ways. And the onus is on me to find a way in which to optimize this student's skills so that they can perform to the best of their ability. Doesn't mean they're going to get an 80 or a 90, but they're going to get a 60. And guess what? That's the best they can do. And they should be happy about it. And you need to find that within your system to do that. You don't say, and we're saying we brought them up because they were playing against Ottawa. Well, let me get this straight. We sent him down because he was indisciplined, and then we bring him up because we need him all of a sudden. Like, it has to be done properly.
Here's another theory, guys. Hear me out. So if you agree, like again, if you agree with me that he wasn't really progressing in the areas that Montreal really wanted him to in Laval, based on my analysis, he was, again, people watching the games love him, entertaining, producing all that, right? But he wasn't really progressing in the areas, positioning, discipline, all those things in Laval. That's my opinion. So similarly, what did Martin St. Louis do with Slavkovsky? Everybody was saying he needs to go to Laval. He needs to develop down there. But the strategy was, you know what? We want to develop him next to our best hockey people. St. Louis wanted to work directly with Slavkovsky. And we've seen the result there, right? So maybe this is just a theory. They didn't like his progression in Laval because they were just seeing him do the same things he was doing in Montreal, but he was succeeding doing those things because it's the AHL. You can get away with that shit in the AHL, right? So it's almost like you're negatively reinforcing those things by letting him continue to do them in the AHL and have success. Everybody in the press is saying, look how awesome he's playing. So
Well, they're
maybe the
looking at
strategy,
the offensive contribution.
exactly, right? So maybe the strategy is, you know what we're trying in Laval with Jacky isn't working. He's not like, so maybe that's a criticism of the coaching staff down there, or the message isn't getting through to him. And maybe they decided, similarly to what Martin St. Louis strategy was with Slavkovsky, maybe they're like, you know what? We want Stéphane Robida to work closely with Jacky. And we want
Right.
him. So
That's my point.
maybe that's a strategy,
Yeah.
right? So your question was, why would they bring him up if they're not happy with his progress? Well, maybe the reason they brought him up is they're not happy with his progress and they want Robida to work with him more directly. And
I
they were,
can put my arms around that. No problem. I agree with that 100%. But
yeah,
that learning has to be there. You can't have him reacting like he did where he's going to apologize to the coach, because to me that tells me he's raising doubts in his own game and his own play, and he
I
doesn't know
don't,
what to do. And that's when
I
you get in.
disagree.
That's when you get penalties. If you don't know,
I
should I hit
disagree.
this guy or not? Will it be a penalty or not? That's when you get the
I don't agree.
penalties.
I
Yeah.
disagree with both you guys that it was a bad thing for him to go and apologize. To me, like, you don't want to do it publicly, right? Like, there's no reason to say that publicly, that, oh, you went and apologized to the coaching staff, because you're just bringing negative attention to yourself. But for me, for Jacky to go to his teammates and to the coaching staff and say, guys, I'm sorry, that was a really stupid penalty that I took. I need to be better. To me, that's good. Like, that's like, you don't want somebody like, do you want Jacky to just not listen to feedback and say, like, no, I believe in
No,
myself? Like,
no,
well, that's so,
no,
to
no,
me,
no, no.
being accountable and
You're-
apologizing for the mistakes that you make to your coach and to your team isn't a sign of like, oh, I'm in my own head and I'm doubting what I need to do out there. It's
So why he did
recognizing,
that? Why he went to see Martin Saint Louis? What is the reason behind that? What is his
well, I
purpose?
my if from my point of view, he wanted to show them that he recognizes that what he did was not helping the team. It's not a team move. It's not a good team move what he did.
No,
He
because
needs to
right
do
now
better.
no,
he's walk on the edge, Marco. He did it because he's scared. It's not
he
because he
doesn't know
want to
what
prove
he's at.
anything. If you want to change on your locker room, not a problem. But if you want to see the coach after that, it's because right now he knows he did the same mistake. He repeat. They told him for the last 2 months, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. He come back for Laval and he does the same mistake. So now he see it's too close. That's the reason you don't see the coach during that time. You just wait, and now you know what you did. You know you make a mistake. You don't have to go there. You don't have to see the coach and knock the door, say, Coach, I apologize for that one there.
I don't
It's
know,
not the
man. I
right
don't
time
buy
to
that.
do that.
If
I
anything,
don't,
it does show that he cares and that he
yeah,
wants to improve his game. Yeah, he could have
for
walked
sure.
away and not done anything, but it also, on a different level, also shows you, as coach is saying, that there's demons in his mind right now in terms of what exactly I need to do here.
The demon in his mind is that it's not, he's not over, like, he's not making that up. Like, to me, when I hear there's a demon in his mind, it's somebody that's making up things that are not happening, or them over
No,
exaggerating
no,
something.
No, no.
But like, so
No,
to me,
but do you want me
he,
to play
he,
physical or
he did,
not? Do
he
you
did,
do you
he took stupid penalties and he recognized that.
Okay.
So to me, that's not necessarily being in your own head. That's just recognizing like if that's the case, then I want him to be in his. I do want him to think twice before he skates down and cross checks somebody from behind where and the puck's not even there. Yes, I do want him to be in his own mind before he does that. That's what learning is. Like I don't understand I still understand where you guys are coming from on that one.
For me, it's just like, no, it's not a characteristic. It's like, for me, he did it because he's worried about that. You don't apologize
Yeah.
at 22 years old to knock the door to the coach. Say, coach. So now he does two penalty next game. What he's going to do? Come back in the office. Say, coach, I did it again. Sorry again. I apologize. No.
And
Well,
and not only that, but and then Martin St. Louis says, "Don't worry, no problem." And what happens the next game? He's sitting on the bench. Like you just gave two different messages. Talk about giving direction in both cases. Like
But again, I would
what
say to you,
message is he
I
left
would say
with?
to you, Enortap is back exactly what I just said. He called a call up because it was Ottawa. Ottawa, right? They are physical and they really put Montreal at home. They push them around a lot. They came back for the Boston Bruins. They got pushed again around and they lost, but they scored 9 goals. So they call him, on my reason, like they keep Michael Pesada in the lineup because they was
Yeah.
worried about that. So for me, we don't know, but maybe, in my opinion, Martin Louis is a great communicator. He's a guy. He's really close about everything, the details, everything like that. I know he will not let a player help to his crash because of the penalties. I believe, in my opinion, and I assume he already make a plan with him already for the week. Where he say, you know what, I'm going to
Okay.
bring you this tonight and the next game, and we'll see this weekend happening. But I'm not guarantee you're going to play against Pittsburgh. Why? Because they are not physical. Why? They are going to be a back-to-back game, and that will give a chance to another player to go back in the lineup because he was stay out of the lineup for 3 games. He does not like to have a player stay on the lineup. So for me, this is the way I see that. I don't see him as a punishment. That's the point behind that and of that. I don't see him
No,
as punishment
I didn't
against
say it was
Jakai.
a punishment. I said you don't give and you have to be clear about it, right? You could say this is the reason why I'm going to be doing this tonight. It's because of those penalties. It's because of you didn't follow through with what I told you to do yesterday in practice. I appreciate that you're being level with me, and I understand why I'm sitting. But don't say, "Well, don't worry about it. The game is over. You know,
but
tomorrow's
where did you
another
get that?
day."
Did you hear a
That was
report
the
that
quote. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Otherwise, I wouldn't comment on it. That's what I
all
heard.
I
That
heard all I heard
I'll
is
look it
that
up. I'll send it to you. But
yeah,
it's
The only
there's a
thing,
press.
that's the
Martin,
part
the
that
only thing
disturbed
I
me.
was saying at that, Martin said we did maybe a mistake, and it's when he talked about the penalty against Gallagher, and did not say the same thing about Caulfield, about Jakai. That's maybe I
Yeah.
would say to you, it's
Yeah,
maybe close
yeah.
about that one over there, for that one. But we can go all night talking about this. They have another conversation in the social media where they're really thinking Kako is really available right now to make trades. So
No,
possible Montreal trade money in for Kako and a second round pick or a first round pick.
Oh, sorry, Kako and a first round pick.
Yeah,
no. A second.
a second round pick. But could they had a first round pick? Because Lava, the Rangers always have difficult time on the left side of the on the defensive. They have really strong on the right side. Schneider, Truba, and Fox. But Langren and Miller don't have a great year. He have a good year, but not the level they was expect this year. And the third, they always change the third one every year. They tried for Mikola, and they got John and the rookie. They have another one. Cannot remember his name, but they don't have a strong third pairing defenseman. So I'd be surprised Manin can trade with an Iris or someone else in the package deal, and they get maybe a first round pick and Kako in return. My point to finish this: are you willing to give him 20? Are you willing to get or open to get Kako with the Montreal Canadiens?
Hey, if you're getting a first round pick and Capo
Yes.
Caco for
Yes.
Monahan and like not like a top end left hand defenseman, yeah, for sure I would do that. Like again, I have my doubts about Caco, but fresh start. He has a lot of tools. Like for me, the big thing with Caco is his skating. It could improve a little bit, but he has a lot of great tools, right? So it all depends, right? Like if you're expecting Capo Caco to be a top six, like if he's not going to be, he was drafted second overall, so you got to put that out of your mind. To me, Capo Caco has the potential to be a very good, like potentially, elite third line player. He could be a defensive specialist kind of guy. Like, remember for the Dallas Stars years ago? Remember what was the name? Lettinen, who won like Selke trophies as a defensive winger. I could see Capo Caco being kind of like a player like that. Maybe like a 50-point player, really good on both sides of the ice, good size, all that. But you don't expect Capo Caco is going to be a point per game player. But I would take a chance on him if you're getting an additional asset on top of that. I think that's a decent move for sure. I think Montreal would 100% take that deal. 100%.
Yeah, if it's a first, it's a no-brainer. Yes, of course you do that.
Even a second, I think they would do that.
A second, I'd think about it twice. I'm not sure.
But you'd rather get a late first round pick rather than Capo Caco and a second round pick? Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because I don't think necessarily that they're going to be looking. I think Gorton and Hughes are going to be looking more at top-notch prospects that are there. Yeah. That's the direction they're going.
That'll be the first thing. I think the first thing about that. But I think Barron equal Caco. So that's a top 8 prospect Caco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason behind that. I don't know where I have this one anymore. But
it's almost 11:30, Coach. You got to wrap up here soon. For me, anyway.
Another breaking news.
Breaking news, the dog Marko is still waiting after 1 hour later. Stick around. You don't understand right now what's going on. But guys, Shakir Moukamadoulin back in the NHL, play his third game with San Jose Sharks. Draft par les New Jersey Devils is the longest last name in NHL now. Moukamadoulin. I always like this one. I always love this kid. I believe he was drafted 20 overall pick.
I think the K is silent, isn't it? Muhad, like the K is like silent or something.
Yeah, I think
Muhadulin?
So. I think so.
Muhadulin?
Yeah, I don't know if you
He'll
call
let
it
us know.
the K and the H together, but it's Moukamadoulin. But
Patrick.
Yeah. But
defenseman.
His last name is more like a WWE wrestler. I think you could go with Willie Snyder on this department about that. What a great show, everybody. We can stay there here all night long. I did not touch, again, a couple of the other things, but look, I think we hit this is the longest show we never have this year, but we appreciate a lot. Honestly, I talked with Roy last night, and we said, it's a boring week in NHL.
That Columbus game last night, Coach. Whoa, was that ever hard?
1-0 Columbus. I think he had 25 shots both team at the middle of the third period, I believe it was. I don't know, but that's the reason I came back to talking, because I said that's not fun to have those kind of the week like that. I don't know NHL miss it. I don't finish this way, Mr. Marko and Enortap. Do you think it's a mistake, or what? How you feel about that?
Yeah, it seems weird that I get that there's some teams on their bye, but it's like 80% of the league just left all of a sudden, right? Like it forced me to watch reality TV shows with my wife, which was never a good thing. So my wife was happy, but definitely let's get this All-Star stuff. Like, I guess it'll be interesting to see the draft, and it'd be cool.
Out of the way.
I have an idea, by the way, for the All-Star competition. I'll share that. I don't know, Coach, if you're going to be doing that, but I have an interesting idea for next year. But let's do the All-Star game and then get back to some real games where it's going to end some trade talk.
Put your seatbelt on. The trade deadline's coming around the corner.
Yeah, we already have one out on the picture about it. Is it not the last year? The first one, it was Beau Horvat, the first one, right? Was
Yeah,
Beau Horvat
a little bit
right?
earlier.
So Vancouver unplugged right away about this for sure. Andy Corridor said my TV has a nice break this week. That's a good one for sure. What it would take, Marko, to get Perrault?
I don't know if that's the right fit for Montreal. Like, he's a really good player. I don't like that fit for Montreal because he's a very small player too.
It's for me, it's the next Tyler to 42.0.
Really? I don't see him as the same kind of guy at all.
Skate above, not above, below, but he can put the puck anywhere in the net. So for me, that's the reason I call Taylor to 42.0. Perrault scored a lot of goals in NHL. Oh, Marko, who is going to be better, Perrault or your Winnipeg Jet prospect?
McGroarty?
Yeah.
Oh, McGroarty for sure. I think he'll be a better player than
Enortap?
McGroarty all the way.
You guys. I would let you go now. Let you go now.
Awesome.
Very different players, though, Coach. Very different.
You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Yes, you have greatness inside of you. Thanks so much, everybody. Both did overtime tonight, guys. And that's the reason the Hockey Nation show try to continue growing one day at a time. We want to thank the moderator, Luciano, for his participation tonight. Archie Calabro for his all the update, and all the people click on the likes. Great conversation in the chat, guys. A lot of people keep pushing every time they talk, they're sharing, and that's the beauty of what we do here every single night. Until the next time, my friend, we want to remind everybody, be well, be health. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what, Mr. Enortap?
You're 2023.
Have a great night, everybody. See you next time, Mr. Marko and Mr. Enortap. Good night.
You didn't catch it.
And again.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Alfie Turcotte is very upset that you missed that.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Booyah!